Can you hear me?
What's happening here? Everybody pray for Ange and the 2007 MacBook Pro. Let's take a moment of silence for this MacBook Pro. No, that's just my name. You're very clever, though. Let's all do a brief prayer, if we can, join our hands. If you have an aversion to making fun of religion, first of all, I don't even know why you're here. Second of all, go ahead and sit this one out. Everyone bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, for thou who art with me, I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, and I fear no evil. I don't fear Jerry Holman. I don't fear Nicholas McGillicuddy, but I do fear 2007 MacBook Pro. May the devil be shunned from this machine. May the devil please resist all things unholy about this device. Who are you? Sorry about that. I'm back. Father, who are with me? As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For in the darkness there was a light. John 1:5. Although it is dark, you can see a light. I think. Never mind. Everyone put your favorite Bible verse in the fucking chat. Who had the occasion in the chat. Let me guess. It's over 50% of you that were at one point part of a youth group. Did you do an Acquire the Fire? Who here at one point was sent to a youth group because they didn't really like that their daughter liked girls a little bit? Who here got sent to a youth group because they liked My Chemical Romance? Probably not 0 of you. Woman doing a true crime. I already knew that one. That was easy. Look at all the youth group mommies. I'm Aussie. What do they do in Aussie land? What do they do in Australia? They send you to the coast? Going to the coast? That's not an accent. Hi, from Australia, finally. What time is it there? I heard you guys call lobsters bugs. Is that right? Hello there, the angel from my nightmare. The angel from my nightmare, I think, is Brian, but she's not here. Or Pop Tarty. No offense to the other angels. It's tomorrow in Australia. I will fucking tomorrow, personally. Literally, tomorrow is the worst fucking day of all time, usually. Blink 180 dB. This is, again, the smallest powder I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, my computer. It's not a computer, it's a Mac. How's it going? We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you breathe. A lot of people in chat are really interested.
I'm using my webcam audio, which I don't know what it sounds like. It might be ass.
No, it's not too bad.
Are you just saying that because you know that I'll be very upset if it's are you just saying that?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It sounds fine.
Hi everyone, how's it going? What you been doing?
We were saying our favorite Bible verse.
Oh.
And we were reminiscing in Acquire the Fire. We all heard I think the POD sing Youth of a Nation.
Oh my god.
At Cedar Point, Sandusky, Ohio. Anyone? Youth of a Nation. We are the youth of a nation. And that youth of this nation then became older, and we are now speaking for Richard Allen.
That's right.
You can't stop us.
That's so true. I haven't just uploaded. We are also former youth group bisexuals. Yeah.
Dude, it's just crazy that this happens all.
How did they know? We are all former youth group religious trauma happy deconstructed bisexuals. I love it. So, do we want to watch this interview? I'm in such a bad mood now. Because I got thrown off. I don't like when I got thrown off.
Dude,
I don't
people
like when I get thrown
loved
off.
it.
Oh yeah.
What is Ephesians 6?
Ephesians? I don't know. We all need an exorcism. I'm bisexual, but no one ever made me go to youth group. I feel left out. Trust me, you're better for it.
That's where the best sex was.
Thanks. Fiend says, I don't know what kind of youth group y'all went to. He says, sorry, dude, I like women. That's the great thing about being bisexual. So does everybody in here. Man.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that chatter's a male.
Oh, well,
just so you know,
too.
Skinny, I'm not necessarily talking about the male chatters. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying.
But there's plenty of that, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm very, unfortunately, capitalistic in my endeavors.
DB does do a consumerism from time to time. Tries to influence me to do a consumerism. One day I will maybe do a consumerism. I did one consumerism since I've known you. I got a heated blanket. I think that's like the last thing I bought myself. And food. I like to buy food. I'd rather spend my money on really good food. It's okay to be straight. Yeah, sure. We will not judge you. Twice the chance of a date on Saturday night, she says.
Oh, 4 pits. I think I found Ephesians 6. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. Is this about Delphi? One of the family members saying this? I don't know.
I think I am
right guy.
Are they? Is 4%? Are you father? DB, father DB, father daddy. 4 pits is daddy. Who's daddy in that equation? Oh,
Dude, I'll be
Ephesians
whatever.
6 is the armor of God. Yes, we know what you mean.
Did I read the wrong one? Oh, I'm on the New International Version.
I don't think that matters. It should still be the same. Woman's like, how did it get here? Oh my God, DB, you summoned her. Hey, Brienne, good to see you. Woman is daddy. This is true. Hello, lawyer's daughter. Ben is praying for all of us sinners. Thank you, Ben. We really need all of that prayer. We can get less sexual.
Bisexual. I fucking love it, dude.
DB's reading scripture. Angie's wiping her nose from tears. Something like that. Something like that.
Cocaina.
Mm-hmm. This is also
Speaking
true.
of cocaine.
Yeah.
What's going on with this gentleman? Let's get some clips up here.
Okay.
Y'all
do a distract.
No, go ahead. I got it. You could do the tech stuff. I'll do the personality. Hi, guys. Did you know Delphi Murders was doing an interview with some chick that he hugged at the press conference? And that was strange.
Of a trial.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Delphi Mcleland.
This is from today. So I just want to say something about this interviewer, and I'm not saying this to be unkind.
Did you say she dropped out of hair school?
No, TV. Her questions go on and on and on and on and on. Like she'll ask like 8 questions. Like she'll be like, "So tell me about how it's been for you now that the trial's over." And granted, like we know that the trial was really long, and blah 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 blah. And then she'll kind of ask a question. It's infuriating. I cut it out, but then I didn't upload that. So we're just gonna watch the whole thing together. We're gonna suffer through it together. And I believe this is the woman that cut in line, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
But it is?
And also, okay. Bree, she's really not, though, isn't she?
No, she's been around a while.
Like,
I don't think she's that young. She's in her 30s.
That's young, okay? Okay, but she's not Russ McQuaid, you know what I mean?
Right. She's not Russ McQuaid in a fedora. It's not the comment lady. It's the lady that cut inside before sentencing. And
no, this is Nick's girl, dude.
Bree says, well, shit, then I don't know. Yeah, well, we'll watch it together. And DB, can you pause it on your end too?
Yeah.
You can? Oh my God, okay.
See?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
What is your face already, dude? Why do you have that mustache? It looks like it's out of a character customization.
I have to upload first. Hold on. Oh my God, where is it? Hold on.
That is not a downloadable content mustache. That is the stock mustache out of every single video game.
Damn it.
You already know her from the back of her head. Girl, you need to brush them curls out. We know who you are from the back.
Brush them. Okay, it's not gonna work. Whatever. None of my shit's working. DB, take it away. None of my shit's working.
Like for you, first and foremost, as a prosecutor, too.
Did you see that? Did you hear that?
Why is she sitting like this?
Because I think she's trying to cut an angle.
I got you.
Or maybe she's trying to run out of the room. But see, this, you can hear it, right? It's because I got your back.
Thank you.
Just like Ephesians 6. Children, obey your parents in the Lord.
You're right.
Right? And I got you.
I know.
Tackle a trial of this magnitude, first off.
Excuse me, and she's talking.
Lengthwise, not even discussing the content.
It was difficult. Obviously, it's the longest trial I've ever had, lasting, those 4 weeks. And the amount of information that was involved was more than I'd ever dealt with as well.
What happened?
Executive decision as a producer. I paused it there just to take a look at the angle here that we got going on. Of the nose, I'm gonna calculate the azimuth and the degrees here. Subtract 90 degrees. Yep. Looks like your nose is fucked up.
The content.
It was difficult. Obviously, it's the longest trial I've ever had, lasting, those 4 weeks. And the amount of information that was involved was more than I'd ever dealt with as well. And so it just took a lot of organization and making sure that.
I think when he put that sweater on, he actually, there's a song that played in the background. Yo, you need to step up the cable management. Let me tell you what. You need to get some bisexual autists in there and some fucking zip ties, my dude. Dude, you're literally... He's got those power cables coiled so tightly around the monitor stands right there that I think he might actually be making some type of fucking DC motor. He really does look like Ned Flanders. Oh my God. He's on that Ned Flanders arc.
Each day we had planned out what we hoped to accomplish that day in trial. And then, logistically organizing to make sure the witnesses were there. We had exhibits copied. And so it was a huge task.
I'm sorry. I'm really trying to get a lot of commentary in here, just because,
Please do.
As a content creator, we really want to focus on commentary.
Dolly.
And what?
Dolly.
What in the metrosexual is this? Dolly. Dolly's that motherfucker, y'all. Go follow Dolly. Yeah, he just said there was so much stuff and, really focused on organizing it and getting everything, together. The jurors like, oh my God, you organized it. I think like it was really cool how like the one person talked and then another person talked to the prosecution. Like they allowed the chick to talk to the chicks, and that was really good. And then, come to find out, like they planned all of that.
What was that like for you preparation-wise? I mean, we talk about preparing for any trial. It takes time for any attorney to prepare for a trial. What was it like for you to prepare for a trial, A, in general speaking, but B, just the importance that it kind of felt like community, the world, all these people watching. What was that for you preparation-wise?
Did she just say all those people watching? Motherfucker, was you there?
Was that a question? Was that a question? That was the most long-winded. My God.
Was she there? All those people.
Yeah.
You were one of them. One of fucking 30
Right.
on most days. What is he talking
God.
about?
I don't fucking know.
I love the desk analysis here. Also, probably because he moved his office 15 fucking times. He ain't got shit in there, dude.
True.
Of course, more.
Wait, is that? Wait, go back real quick.
World, all these people.
Right there. Right on the desk, right in the middle there with that all wide open area. It looks like Steve Nolan's butt cheek imprint.
What was that like for you preparation-wise?
Of course, you're under more scrutiny when it's a case that has as much publicity as this case did, and you have this sense of obligation that you want to do the best you can and make sure that you're completely prepared. And so, you have that extra pressure, but in terms of preparation, you kind of just go through the same routine that you would with any trial. Just in this case, the trial is going to be lengthwise, it's going to be longer, more witnesses and more exhibits than I dealt with in the past, but you try to go through your same routine. And you don't want to change your routine just because it is all that more publicity. And so I just tried to go through.
How many thumbs does this guy have? We get a thumb count over here. Also, is that a magic mouse? Is he using a magic mouse? Any of my Mac heads see that?
Why does he keep doing this with his hands? He does this the whole interview with his hands on the desk. He keeps doing the fucking claw on his desk. It's driving me crazy. Why does he keep doing that?
But Aaron, that is a certified yapper, I like to call him. And dude, his hands are yapping. Like, dude.
The same routine. I organize my exhibits, my witnesses, and things I for any trial. And so I just tackled it that way.
You just mentioned it, but the publicity on this case was like nothing else, really. One of the biggest, if not the biggest case Carroll County has seen. As a defense lawyer before being elected prosecutor, coming into this process, did that play a role in kind of how you decided to do things or your strategy going in?
Are you testifying for him, ma'am? As a defense lawyer before. What are you doing?
And
I think just your experience in general, whether it's you start off as a defense attorney and move to a prosecutor, or whether you just as a prosecutor and career as a prosecutor, I think your experience as an attorney is what plays into your decisions on witness order, what exhibits to put in, all those kind of things. I do think as being a defense attorney, it gives me that unique experience to kind of view things from the other side. So when you start to think about what strategies the defense will have, what defenses they'll put forward, I think it gives me a unique perspective that I've been on that side. But I think prosecutors who have been career prosecutors have those experiences too that give them a hand and make sure that you're completely prepared.
Oh, I fucked it up, didn't I? I fucked it up. I'm sorry.
And so, you have that extra pressure, but in terms of preparation, you kind of just go through the same routine that you would with any trial. Just in this case,
this process, did that play a role in kind of how
order am I going to put the witnesses in? What exhibits are we going to produce to the court? In this situation, this is the first time I'd worked with two other attorneys on a case. And so we would have open discussions about what is the best way to move forward.
You hear that, guys? This is the first time he's worked with other attorneys on a case. So what does that tell you? He was a defense attorney for a long time, right? He's a public defender for a while. Do you know what kind of cases in Indiana require two attorneys?
Death penalty?
Death penalty cases? Life without parole cases? LWAP?
You taught me that.
And murder cases.
Oh, I didn't know that, Deebs.
So, why? You never defended a murder case?
Noob.
The strategy trial, what is the best, those things. Very much a group effort. It wasn't one person making the decisions.
we talk about public view, talk about this case in general? I mean, it captivated so many people, not just from Carroll County, surrounding communities, the state, really nationwide, so many people being interested in this case. And really, because of that, there's kind of been this whole like cottage industry, if you will.
Wait a second. Sorry, I was eating a mini Kit Kat. One sec.
You should put them in the freezer, Deebs, and then eat them. Freeze them.
I like them like this. I just had it. It's
No.
gone. It was good. Anyways, this person over here is moving this fucking camera or whatever the fuck this is, right?
Because of that, there's kind of been this whole like cottage industry, if
You
will,
mean to
for
tell me
people,
you had somebody staffing this fucking production and this is what y'all came up with? There was
They got
another
this, like wide angle too. It's like weird.
interest in learning about the case, people just talking about the case.
Thank you so much, Keith Kellogg. Okay, appreciate you.
All the noise that's happening, whether it's
That is a
after
weird
trial,
fucking
before
chair,
trial,
isn't it?
standing outside of the courthouse. How did that impact you as the prosecuting attorney in this case?
You try to block it all out and try to focus, like you said, just on the facts of the case, because what happens on a YouTube true crime channel or,
What?
What is their obsession with YouTubers? To the point, lady, I can taste colors. I'm sorry. There's so much I want to say. I'm going to try and keep it moving a little.
through the media that doesn't really affect the case. You've got to focus on the evidence that you have and the facts of the case. And so you try to block it out. Now, it's impossible to block it all out, especially when it's in your face, when you're leaving the courthouse. Obviously, it affected, I think, probably the family more than me, because there were some personal attacks on the family. I expect personal attacks as a prosecutor. I expect not everybody's going to like me. And so I kind of expected it and didn't bug me. I guess you'd have to ask the family whether it got to them or not. I think some of the community members, it got to them.
I thought we're not supposed to talk to the family.
Just so many people bad.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Me, I guess you'd have got. Obviously, it affected, I think, probably the family more than me. Focus, like you said, just on the facts of the case, because what happens on a YouTube true crime channel or, you know, through the media, that doesn't really.
What happened to the YouTube true crime channel or the media? I'm sure that chick is furious that he just compared us. What's gotten more work, Nick's hot comb or that tissue that Ange has?
Affect the case. You've got to focus on the evidence that you have and the facts of the case. And so you're trying to block it out. Now, it's impossible to block it all out, especially when it's in your face, when you're leaving the courthouse. Obviously, it affected, I think, probably the family more than me, because there were some personal attacks on the family. I expect personal attacks as a prosecutor. I expect not everybody's going to like me. And so I kind of expected it and didn't bug me. I guess you'd have to ask the family whether it got to them or not. I think some of the community members, it got to them because just so many people bad-mouthing Delphi as a whole and Carroll County and you know, unjustly doing that. But for me, I just tried to block it out as much as I could and focus on, okay, what do we want to present at trial and what are the facts that we can prove?
How difficult was it for you to combat that? Here's what's happening in the courtroom and here's what's spreading like wildfire outside the door.
This is called I see you moving the fuck out of your hands. Let me give that a shot.
On, okay, what do we want to present at trial and what are the facts that we can prove?
How difficult was that for you to combat that? Here's what's happening in the courtroom and here's what's spreading like wildfire outside the doors.
I guess that's kind of a two-part question. For the pretrial phase, my concern was that we were going to taint any kind of jury pool that we had a hope of getting. And so that was my biggest concern, that we're not going to be able to get a jury pool that hasn't heard about this case or hasn't formed an opinion, because there was so much outside noise coming in and so many podcasts and YouTube channels and all these different things who were reporting on it. And so pre-trial, that was my main concern. It didn't really affect me in terms of preparing for the case, but when selecting a jury, I was of the concern of, okay, are we really going to be able to get a jury that hasn't formed an opinion about this case already based on something they've seen in the outside world? And I've never dealt with a case that has much publicity as this, so there's a legitimate concern in this case. When you get to trial, again, I really didn't have a concern because the jury was sequestered, and so I felt pretty confident that they weren't getting all that outside noise. When we get to trial, my biggest concern was the safety of witnesses we had coming in and out of the courthouse, the safety of the family coming in and out of the court.
He talks with his eyes closed a lot. Hashtag Shankin.
House, and just then the safety of the officers working the courthouse and the grounds around the courthouse, because my concern was that a YouTuber, podcaster, or somebody else was going to fuel the fire for somebody who would act on those emotions and do something drastic, either.
And that never even came close to happening. Not even remotely. You had Andrea Burkhart there and Lawyer Lee.
But also, you let Anthony Greeno, who you had a warrant out for, you could have arrested him and avoided it altogether. You let Anthony Greeno stand in line all night and then come into the courtroom and sit in trial, and you're worried about why? Why does he do this? Why? What is this? Do you do that, DV, at work?
No, it's the sneeze guard right there. I'm not allowed to touch the sneeze guard. Some of us work for a living over here, Mr. Mcleland. I'm sure you could use a sneeze guard in your office.
It's so stupid. Okay.
Intentionally mess up the trial, say something when they're in the audience, cause a ruckus in the courthouse, put the officers in danger, put witnesses in danger. So those are my concerns with kind of the outside publicity, not so much with the facts of the case.
You mentioned some of it about, sequestering the jury, fooling the jury, hoping that you're going to get a jury that, whether they've heard about the case, haven't heard about the case, but ultimately a jury that has no formed opinion. Do you feel Richard Allen had a fair trial?
Yes.
How do you feel in terms of the sequestration?
No follow-up whatsoever. Just, do you feel Richard Allen got a fair trial? Yes. And you know what, though, I will say, I believe him. I believe he believes Richard Allen got a fair trial. You know what I mean? I don't think he's lying. I believe he believes it. I just would have liked to see a little more from what's-her-face.
Process with the jury, you think it went smoothly, or how difficult was it for your team to cultivate that jury?
Well, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any responsibility with having them sequestered. That was all on the staff from Allen County. I think they did a great job because they didn't allow the jury to be contacted by outside sources, and they took all those necessary steps. So I think they did a great job. Once we started the trial, we didn't have any concern about them being sequestered. We trusted that the Allen County staff was going to take care of that. And again, we just focused on what we had to present. A lot of it is, it's not tunnel vision, but a lot of it is keeping your eye on the ball and just focusing on what you have to present and not getting caught up in all that. And so that's what we did.
Case had lots of ups and downs, I think, with anybody who was in there, I'm sure, for the prosecuting team too. Are you surprised that Richard Allen didn't testify?
No. Being a defense attorney for as long as I was, that's always the big question. Do you have the defendant testify? It's a catch-22. They have the absolute right not to testify. And if they don't testify, then you're relying on evidence either the prosecutor put out or that you can get out through other witnesses. If they don't testify, the jury is not able to hear them say, I didn't do it. And I think that's a big thing for juries to hear.
They got to hear him say, I didn't do it, over 27 times in an interrogation. So that's a bunch of bullshit. That's all. They got to hear him say, I didn't do it 27 times.
On the other hand, if you have them testify, you open them up to cross-examination and open them up to oftentimes a lot of hard questions that are going to be hard for them to answer, which could make them look equally as bad in front of a jury. And so
he's like, yeah, man, I wouldn't have nobody testify if I was the prosecutor in the case, man. Y'all don't want to go up against me on cross.
It's always, each case you have to look at individually. And so I wasn't surprised he didn't testify, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he did. We were prepared if he did testify with questions that we were going to ask him. But that's always a very tough decision as a defense attorney, whether or not you have your client testify. And you oftentimes...
I wonder if they would have been harder than the questions that Jerry Holman asked him. How did
it's a catch-22. It's a catch-22. I don't think you know what that means, Nick. I think because a catch-22 implies something very different than it's good for you either way. That's not a catch-22 at all.
This guy is the worst at idioms. He's like, this is a catch of a 22. This is what happens when you catch a 22.
Oh, we just want to put on equal ballroom
and so
ground. Sorry, we're not at that part yet.
We were prepared for either way they went, and so I guess I wasn't surprised, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he had testified as well.
Speaking of the jury, in your opinion, what do you think did it for the jury? What do you think was that tipping point to reach that guilty verdict?
I don't know. One of my pet peeves is when people tell me how I feel or what to think, and I'm not going to sit here and tell the jury.
What?
This is something I hate personally, is when people demand me to think some way.
I don't like it. That's a pet peeve of mine. He's so stupid. Hey, Jake Snyder. Yeah. Your pet peeve. No one asked you about the actual fuck did he just say? Everyone in here is going, huh? Okay, sorry.
You try to go through your same routine.
I fucking did it again, Deeps. Every time I go to hit play, I hit the... Do you remember where we were?
and being sequestered, we trusted that proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know if there was one specific thing. And again, you have 12 individuals.
That guilty verdict.
Pet peeve.
Well,
Here it is.
One of my pet
individuals.
peeves is when people tell me how I feel or what to think, and I'm not going to sit here and tell the jury, they should have hung their hat on this or should have made the decision based on this.
You literally did
In
that.
my
though. That was
mind,
your
I would
job.
like to think it was just the totality of the circumstances, the totality of all the evidence that we had. And so I don't know if there was one specific thing. And again, you have 12.
Totality of the evidence, which is literally something invented by cops to have a lesser standard for things.
This man should not be
Individuals
teasing
who-
any pet.
You stay the fuck away from them pets.
All have different life experiences and think differently. So what may have been the deciding factor for one juror may not have been the deciding factor for the other. One juror may have bought into or believed in the science of the ballistics. One juror may have said, okay, the timeline is what I hung my hat on. One juror may have said the confessions. In my mind, it was just a totality of everything that led to the conviction. But again, that would be a question for the jurors. I don't want to try to tell them what they think or tell them what they should have hung their hat on.
When you hear that word theory really just being thrown out and about, as a prosecutor, when you hear the word thrown around, what goes through your mind when you hear this word theory thrown around the way that it has been?
That wasn't a question, honey. You didn't have to ask a follow-up there. That wasn't a question. You could have just let the silence sit for a minute.
Did
That
she-
wasn't a question.
Do you think maybe she
I
forgot?
want to hear that. Yeah,
No, go ahead.
I just want to hear it again. But do I think she maybe forgot what?
Do you think she forgot conspiracy?
The word?
Yeah, like conspiracy theory.
Probably, yeah.
And that's why she said that the way that she did.
Yeah, I need to hear it
Again,
again,
that would be
though.
a question
Okay, I'm
for the
playing it
jurors.
right now.
I don't want to try to tell them what they think or tell them what they should have hung their hat on.
When you hear that word theory really just being thrown out and about, as a prosecutor, when you hear the word thrown around, what goes through your mind when you hear this word theory thrown around the way that it has been?
I've said this before, and I'll stick.
Huh? Yeah, she meant to say conspiracy theory, right? And she just forgot the word? Okay. So she was given these questions beforehand because he knew what she was asking, despite the fact that she didn't actually ask him a question. He's about to answer it. What a dope.
To it, it's okay if you want to use the word theory, but you got to back it up with evidence. And if you want that theory to become a truth, you got to have evidence to back it up.
If you want that theory to become a truth, you got to have evidence. Thank you so much, Keith. Goodness. You got to have evidence to back up your theory to make it a truth. There was no truth in here. No truth detected.
And we live and die by the burden of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt. And so if you can prove a theory beyond a reasonable doubt, then to me it becomes a truth in the court of law. And until then, it's just a theory, and that's just what it is. It's an idea of what you thought happened. And so I don't have a problem with people throwing that word around, but where's the evidence to back it up?
There's been so much time where neither side had an opportunity to say much. It was under the gag order.
What
obviously,
the
for quite
fuck
some
are you
time.
talking about?
What to you did the gag order mean?
The gag order to me was just a reiteration or a re-emphasis on the rules of professional conduct that we're bound by. And that
Dude, okay, first of all,
Can you define ex parte, Mr. McLeland?
McGillicuddy. Dude, why do they cut back to him every single shot and he settles in his chair?
He does.
That's stop cutting back to him.
is. It's an idea of what you thought happened. And so I don't have a problem with people throwing that word around, but where's the evidence to back it up?
There's been so much time where neither side had an opportunity to say much. It was under the gag order, obviously, for quite some time. What to you did the gag order mean?
The gag order to me was just a reiteration or a re-emphasis on the rules of professional conduct that we're bound.
It was under the gag order, obviously, for quite some time. What to you did the gag order mean?
The gag order to me was just a reiteration or a re-emphasis on the rules of professional conduct that we're bound by. And that is that you should not put out anything in the public that's going to try to taint the jury or elicit a response from the public. And we're bound by those rules. And the gag order is just an emphasis of that to say, don't talk about this case in the public. Don't put out press releases that try to, condition the public to whether Richard Allen was guilty or innocent. And mainly that was done so that we can get a jury that's not tainted or biased. I really had a fear that we were, regardless of how many people that we subpoenaed in to be for jury duty, that we weren't going to find 12 that hadn't heard about this case. And so it was a real concern for me.
I want to stick my head in the washing machine and turn it on. This is DP the hands, gross. Do it again. Ew. I want to stick my head in the microwave and do a defrost. This is awful. This is making me so mad.
And I wanted to be able to get 12 people who didn't form an opinion about this case, were unbiased, so that we could have a fair trial, not only for the state, but for Richard Allen.
And you felt like you got that?
Yes.
It's so easy these days, I think, to electronically disseminate anything. I mean, still
get a jury that's not tainted or biased. I really had a fear that we were, regardless of how many people that we subpoenaed in to be for jury duty, that we weren't going to find 12 that hadn't heard about this case. And so it was a real concern for me. And I wanted to be able to get 12 people who didn't form an opinion about this case, were unbiased, so that we could have a fair trial, not only for the state, but for Richard Allen.
It's so easy these days, I think, to electronically.
We could have a fair trial, not only for the state, but for Richard Allen.
She said, and you think you got
Yes.
that?
The
You
state,
feel like
but for Richard
did you
Allen.
feel like you got
Fair
that?
trial.
Unbiased, so that we could have a fair trial, not only for the state, but for Richard Allen.
And you felt like you got that?
Yes.
It's so easy these days, I think, to electronically disseminate anything. I mean, still to our newsroom, we get leaked crime scene photos, that photo that was leaked.
Sure.
As the prosecutor, do you think there should be something in place to try to protect evidence like this, or do you think that there should be a safeguard of sorts or anything to try to prevent things like that from happening?
What the actual fuck is that question? What the fuck does that mean? Should there be safeguards to prevent electronic dissemination of things? Like what? Like what? What the fuck are you talking about, Nick, you fucking idiot? What is he talking about?
I think the lawyers are the safeguard, both the state and the defense. I think we are the safeguard. We have an obligation to protect that and the defense. I think.
Is there anything to try to prevent things like that from happening?
I think the lawyers are the safeguard, both the state and the defense. I think we are the safeguard. We have an obligation to protect that confidential information and sensitive information that we get in discovery. I think we have to be the safeguard. Is there a better way to do it? Police it? I don't know. But I think we as attorneys have a responsibility, especially dealing with children. And if children are victims of things, children's statements, photos of children, photos of the crime scene that involve children. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that with photos of crime scenes that involve adults, but I think we have an extra level of care and duty to protect those things that involve children victims. So I think the attorneys are the safeguard. Is there a better safeguard? If there is, I don't know what it is.
Talk about why that's so important to you, because as a mom myself, obviously, I would never want photos like that of my child to be circulating. No one in their right mind would want to.
Did she just say as a mom?
Yep.
Got it.
Why is that so important to you to let people know, hey, this is not okay?
It was important at the press conference because I think that we've gone down this road with a lot of the YouTubers and podcasters and even some media that it's all about how many people can I get to tune in or how many clicks can I get? How many followers can I get? And we'll do any means possible.
Sir, you are the elected prosecutor of a county in Indiana. Why the fuck did you just say that? You work for the state, bro. Why are you commenting on what the motivations of YouTubers and the media are?
Because he's an idiot.
To get those
Okay.
He's a fucking idiot.
followers, to get another follower, to increase that number. And that goes as far as showing a crime scene where,
What?
Is there a universe?
What?
Is there a universe where people actually care about a topic, right? But they went from 3,000 followers to 5,000 followers, and they are happy that they have more followers because that means more people are interested in the topic they're discussing. So does it mean that you can't be happy to have more followers, but also give a fuck about something important? Is it just because you really think that little of people that they couldn't be motivated by something other than attention and money?
He literally is a politician. His livelihood depends on selling himself to people and being liked. So the audacity of this man to get on a public platform consistently for 7 fucking years and demonize the very people who have given him a platform, it's rich. It's very rich. This man is a lizard. It's rich.
Girls that are dead, one of which is naked. And I just wanted to really emphasize that you can tell this story without those photos. To get another follower, to increase that number. And that goes as far as showing a crime scene where, there's 2 girls that are dead, one of which is naked.
Dude, what the fuck are you what's that got to do with YouTube? No one is showing fucking naked pictures on YouTube.
I've actually never seen a crime scene photo just come across my purview at all. I don't know what he's talking about. He's the one who thought it was necessary to show 170 photos of the girls in the crime scene during the trial. Now it'd be one thing if the crime scene was allowed to be discussed in any meaningful way by the defense attorneys, but that was literally just for shock and awe. He was bastardized. He's just a bastard. How about that? I hate this man. I absolutely hate this man. He doesn't even make any sense. He's not even making any fucking sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Makes sense. Woman doing whatever the fuck. Would you ban him? Ban Nick.
Yeah, ban Nick.
I've had enough of him.
Yeah, I'm tired of him. Are we almost done?
No, that's funny. Let's keep going.
Okay.
You can click it.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
And I just wanted to really emphasize that you can tell this story without those photos. And whether you want to believe it or not, if you pass those photos on, you're part of the problem. And we can never, law enforcement did our best to scrub the internet of those photos when they were leaked. But it is an impossible task.
Is that the duty of
if it gets sent to one person, like you said, it's so easy to disseminate stuff. Once it gets sent to one person and it's on the internet, if it gets posted on Twitter.
That's generally how the internet works.
Do you know what scrub means?
Idiot.
You literally might be admitting to a civil rights violation.
I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't be the first time they did a civil rights bing bong of the internet or of a citizen.
Facebook or wherever, it's out there in the internet and you can never get it back. And so I was really emphatic about saying, don't use these photos to get more clicks or to get more readers of your story.
No one has.
Use something else.
Use something else. Yeah, like make fun of you. That's what we choose to do.
That's
I don't know any. Yeah, that's actually a bigger hit. Nobody wants to see it. I don't know anybody who has used and leveraged crime scene photos of the girls to get clicks at all.
That's a ridiculous thing to think.
That's not a thing that happened.
And I don't like a lot of these people, dude.
Right.
Like, there's even some people on the pro-defense side, not a huge fan of. Some people that deserve a lot more credit, than they get. Right. They like to remind people of that.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of everybody.
Right.
But I don't think people have done that.
They haven't. Not that I've seen. If it's happening, it's not on this fucking side. That's all I know. Not on anything that I consume. Literally never seen it. Like leaking.
Because the only way, Becky Patty said, is generational. The only way we're going to stop those things from being, you know, I guess published through the internet is if we get people to stop sending them forward.
How did the heaviness play a role or a toll in you as the prosecutor? I mean,
She said a roll or a toll.
Nick, why don't you
That's what
trademark
call it.
them? And then you could fucking do a DMCA strike on them. You fucking
Oh,
weasel.
brilliant. Brilliant. He's a weasel.
I can't imagine the time and the hours that are put into a case like this on top of the heaviness of it.
Yeah, the time and hours, I mean, we myself, Jerry Holman, Indiana State Police, my investigator, Steve Mullen, everybody involved spent a ton of time trying to track down how the leak occurred, and then spent a ton of time trying to scrub the internet of those photos. And so that just takes on top of everything else you're doing with the case. And so it just...
What does scrubbing the internet of...
is a huge amount of work to try to do that.
Ma'am, this never occurred to you to ask the prosecutor that's in front of you, what does scrubbing the internet of photos mean, sir?
The toll, I tried not to think about it much during the trial because you don't want to get consumed with emotion where you kind of take your eye off the ball. I think afterwards it hit me a little bit harder to think, okay, these pictures are still out there, and they're of these two little girls. And I think I have so much compassion for the family and how they feel when, I mean, people were sending them those photos and, you know, saying, hey, these are out there and those kind of things.
Yeah, literally
so it really
don't
took
do
an
that.
emotional toll on me afterwards because I started thinking about the family and kind of the words that Becky said hit home pretty hard, that it's generational. And, you know, just what I said at the press conference, what if it was your children? And so during the trial, it angered me that those were out there.
Here we are again.
No.
Everybody picture your loved ones dead.
Why don't you go ahead and just close your eyes and just picture your children naked and slaughtered and butchered in the woods? That feels like a good thought exercise for everybody.
That's the standard that people should be held to. What about your kids? And what if they were dead?
You can click it, DB.
Sorry, I was working on a meme.
No reason for those to be out there. I don't care what kind of story you want to publish. You don't need those pictures to promote that story, in my opinion. And so it really angered me. And then afterwards, yeah, it's emotional to think, you know, I have kids too, and it's just emotional to think, you know, what if those are my girls? You know, what if they were pictures or my nieces or my sisters or whatever the case may be? So
Outside of the leaked photos, just the case itself. I mean, as a parent yourself, as somebody who has to go home and take care of kids,
sure,
it's challenging. I know the toll it took on me, not even just being home. I can't imagine the hours that have to go into preparing for something like that. Caseload, generally speaking, outside of the leaked photos, can you share what that was like for you and how you navigated?
there are days you get overwhelmed and you want to just quit, and you know, because
Quit.
your experience.
Oh, fuck. I did it again. I'm in deposit and I moved the thing. Quit.
The hours that have to go into preparing for something like that.
Please
Caseload,
quit.
generally speaking, outside of the leaked photos, can you share what that was like for you and how you navigated?
There are days you get overwhelmed and you want to just quit, and you know, because you have 2 or 3 things going on. You may have another fire to put on in the office, or another case came in. That you have to
2
deal
or
with
3 things.
on top of the stuff for Richard Allen, and there are days you get overwhelmed, but you
Man, I thought he was done saying his name.
just have to, I guess, organize it in a way where you're just accomplishing one task at a time and try not to get overwhelmed. But there definitely are days that you get overwhelmed and think, I have so much to do.
Is this a self-help seminar?
I don't know how I'm going to do all this. Obviously, a lot of
I don't feel
sleepless
helped.
nights, a lot of time away from family
I don't feel helped. Do you feel helped?
No, I feel sick.
Me too.
and friends, a lot of missed family events, and you just have to sacrifice that to put the work in that's necessary for the case. And so, you know, we're paid for 37 hours a week, and that's just what we are. you're not working 37 hours a week when you're working on this kind of case. I do not know how many hours. I don't know that I want to know how many hours I put in on it, but a bunch.
Generally speaking, you talked about.
Mr. Mcleland, the taxpayers would like to know how many hours you put in on this case. We have a couple more questions. In addition to that, we can circle back to.
About it, but how does one not take something like that home? The heaviness home. How does one not let it get to him?
I don't know. You just learn to leave, I guess, that part at home. I mean, you think about.
Oh, this ain't over yet. So we'll see. We'll check in with Nick and how he's going, how everything's going for Nick here. A couple years.
Yeah.
About it all night and all day when you're at home with your kids or with your family. You think about it. In this case, it was hard to get away with it get away from it because, you know, my family wants to talk about it. My friends want to talk about it. Everybody wants to talk about it and wants to know what's going on. But you kind of just have to be able to put it to the side and enjoy the time that you have away because that's your time to recharge. So when you come back, you can, you know, work on the case again. So it's not easy, but it's just.
This man doesn't even work a full 40. Yeah, wait, hold on. Really quick, Deebs. Shit. Fuck. Wait.
To get away with it get away from it. In this case, it was hard to get away with it get away from it. In this case, it was hard to get away with it get away from it.
Anyway.
You didn't really make it look that hard.
All attorneys have this ability where they can put the cases aside, the emotion aside, and, you know, still go home and enjoy time that you have with friends and family.
Waiting for the verdict.
Like Jerry Holman, he's a psychopath.
Forever. I mean,
he doesn't
people
care.
keep saying 19 and a half hours. It was more than 19 and a half hours. The jury was deliberating for 19 and a half hours, but there was time, obviously, that you're sitting there, you're waiting, you're wondering. Walk me through that time with you guys and the prosecuting team of the longer you waited. What was that like for you guys?
It's always hard waiting for the jury to come back. And I imagine if you took a poll of 50 attorneys, you'd have half that say, oh, it's better if they come back quick, and half that say they come back, you know, it's better if they come back or take longer to decide. I don't know, but it is, I guess, it wasn't bad the first couple of days. The Sunday that we had off between the Saturday and the Monday where the jury was off and we didn't have to come into court and we're just home, that was a hard day because you're just wondering, what are they doing? What are they thinking? So the waiting is always.
Just to be clear, this is the Sunday, you know, between Saturday and Monday, that Sunday, between Saturday and Monday. Thank you for clarifying, prosecutor.
It's always tough for me. It may not be for other attorneys, but it always is for me.
How much second guessing do you do during that? Did I do this right? Did I do that right? Should I have done this differently?
I think you.
It's specifically a tough for me. It might not be for other attorneys, but for me.
Definitely for me.
Always do that. I mean, I can't tell you how much, but you're always going to second guess. Should I have done this? Should I have objected there? Should I have not put that in the evidence? For me, that's normal. Even if I think I put on a very strong case and I'm confident the jury's going to come back with guilty, you know, I still wonder, should I have done that? Would that have been the thing they hung their hat on? Because you don't know at the end of the day what the jury's going to make their decision on.
When it comes to cameras in the courtroom, do you think that impacted the trial, or would it have been differently if there was cameras in the courtroom?
I don't know. I've never done a trial with cameras in the courtroom, so I can't really answer that question. I don't know.
You never prosecuted a big case.
I'll be mad if we going into this assume that if you get that guilty verdict, there could be an appeal process.
Yeah, I think so, especially with a murder charge and the fact that the sentence was what it was. Even the minimum sentence on these kind of charges is 45 years. So I think in any kind of murder conviction, you expect an appeal. We expected it. We expected it from day one that if we get a guilty verdict, he's going to appeal it. And so, yeah, that's something we're ready for.
What is your role should an appeal happen? I know it's obviously been discussed. They're heavily saying they're going to do it. He's been appointed attorneys.
The Attorney General's office will represent the state of Indiana, and the Attorney General will appoint probably one or two attorneys to handle the appeal. Our role at that point, myself, Stacey Diener, James Luttrell, becomes more of a supportive role. Help them with any documentation they need to review. If they have questions about what happened in the courtroom or how something was presented, we're there support for them to say, what information you need, let us help you get it. We know where that's at, because we're the people in the courtroom trying it and they're not. So we're just a supportive role.
Should an appeal go through, do you prosecute it again?
When you say should an appeal go through,
If
an appeal goes through
and it goes back to trial,
and the Court of Appeals says something was done wrong and it has to be retried, do we try it again? Absolutely.
You couldn't talk for so long. Is there anything you want to say that you want people to know or take away from, whether it's this case or the impact it had on the community, or where you go from here?
I don't know. I guess if I had to say anything, just thank you to everybody that helped along the way. And I always forget names, but Doug Carter,
welcome,
Jerry Holman, Steve Mullen, Stacey Diener, James Luttrell, my staff, all the investigators, Rich Davies, all Brian Harshman,
that's interesting.
The list is
Deeps, my love, did you catch that? He thanked Rich Davies before he thanked Brian Harshman. Isn't that interesting? Let's circle back to that.
Is endless. I said this the other day, that I could not have done this by myself. And I did not do this by myself.
Yeah, no shit, bro. No prosecutor
all those
does.
Law enforcement officers, Stacy and Jim, the attorneys that helped me do it, they deserve as much praise as I'm getting. That's a fact. The family, for as compassionate as they were throughout that, and just that they were able to abide by the gag order.
I was on me.
The family abided by. Can I say something, Deeps?
I mean, you say whatever the fuck you want, dude.
I don't find it very compassionate for Becky Patty to make a fucking scene in front of the courtroom and the media, audibly, that people could hear, that she's pissed, not disturbed, not grieving, like fuming, that they don't get to see the torture videos of the defendant. I'm sorry. And she can say that it's because it's not fair, that the girl's dignity wasn't preserved. They're murdered. They're the murder victims, and it's relevant to the case, and that sucks. Nobody asked the prosecutor to put pictures of the girls, 150 fucking pictures of them up on the fucking projector for everybody in there. He could have filed a motion and only showed the jury. He didn't do that. Also, after Becky threw a fit, he went on in his closing and put more pictures up on the fucking projector. So I don't want to fucking hear about compassion. I didn't see it from Becky. We sure as fuck have not ever seen it from this fucking mustachioed weirdo. And it's like so disingenuous. I'm like so tired of hearing about it. He didn't have to do that. He could have preserved the dignity of the girls had he wanted to, just like the defense attorneys preserve the dignity of their client. That's my spiel. That's all.
And not say anything.
How important was that for you to please abide by the gag order?
It was important to me. It's an order from the court, and so I respect the court's order, and I was going to do everything to follow it. And again, I wanted to make sure we had a fair jury for us and Richard Allen. That was my main goal, to say, look, let's just
a fair jury for the state. That's all. The state deserves a fair trial too.
Not say anything so we can get a jury that's fair and unbiased, so we all are on even playing ground when we go into the courtroom.
Okay, sir, what would you have said that would have made it unfair for Richard Allen?
Right.
That he confessed 61 times?
Mm-hmm.
You said that. Dude,
right.
You said that, 2 fucking years ago?
Mm-hmm.
In a filing.
Yep.
I mean, dude, you were saying all kinds of shit, right?
He was saying all kinds of shit.
Okay.
All kinds of shit. And then he goes on this. Oh, this just pissed me off now. And then he goes on this fucking stupid interview, which, what even was that? That was not even good TV. It was awful. It was just really embarrassing. It was just like, what did he even say? Ferguson, holy crap, we're here, a fair trial for the state. Yeah, that's the second time he's done something like this. He did it in a hearing once when he literally was like, Your Honor, the state deserves a fair trial too. That right goes both ways. It literally fucking doesn't. The government doesn't need to be protected. The state doesn't need to be protected from the government because the state is literally the government. What the fuck is he talking about? He doesn't even like a basic understanding of the Constitution or of due process at all. That's when he said it, Kat. There you go. I'm a fucking idiot. God, he's stupid. He's stupid. He's not even fun. He's just stupid. Call me an underdog and then watch me win. What was that from? The comment article? Sorry. I'm sorry. I chased Deeps away. He's not fooled the people of Carroll County. Don't ever let him think he has. Call me under.
To get away with it or get away from it.
I have another one somewhere. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So we got 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato. We got Frank, who's that? Frank Meister in the background. Doing an interview of Jerome.
Did you cut out the part where she looks at the camera?
No, let it play. She'll do it.
No, it's not doing it.
Yes, it is. It's at the end. Let it play.
I just did.
Deeps.
Oh, okay. It's a little bit before the end.
Isn't that sweet?
This is so coded.
Fucking how do you figure? First of all, I would never hug a cop.
Yeah, we know that.
Ever. I'd never hug a cop. Ever.
Never hug or say something?
I'd never hug a cop.
Miku, check the tapes.
I'd never touch a cop in public. Okay, let's get that on the record.
Okay, well. Yeah, I said, this is DC meeting his wife for the first time. I don't want no beef, man. I don't want no beef, man. Let me tell you what, guys. When I happened upon this footage from this press conference. I was looking for something specific today. A very strange interaction between the subject of this interview and the interviewee, or the interviewer, excuse me. I happened upon this very footage that we're watching now. So I didn't know she was going to share it, but there it is. And let me tell you what, that ain't the only interesting thing. I've seen some shit, dude. Let me tell you. If you want to see some shit yourself, go watch the slow start of that fucking presser and then the end, like this part. It is fucking, there's some weird shit going on, dude.
Should I play it or not?
No, you can. You gonna play the one where Nick gets approached?
I don't have that one. I thought I did, but I only have the screenshot. I'll have to find it. I'll find it in a bit. Fiend says, these are all strange interactions. This is literally just a 10-second clip of the strangest interactions. It's
at least our autism is fucking cool, dude.
Yes, for sure. Joji says approached.
There was some approaching going on.
Please abide by the gag order.
It was important to me. It's an order from the court. And so I respect the court's order, and I was going to do everything to follow it. And again, I wanted to make sure we had a fair jury for us and Richard Allen. That was my main goal, to say, look, let's just not say anything so we can get a jury that's fair and unbiased.
Not saying anything.
We all are on even playing ground when we go into the court. So we all are on even playing ground when we go into the courtroom.
This man a real Midwestern. Get your idioms together, dude.
Get your idioms straightened out, man. You idiot. Get your idioms, you idiot.
Idiom.
Man, I don't know what to say. I don't even know what to say. That was a really, really great interview in that I learned nothing. It was productive to no one. He clearly doesn't know. Yeah, Fiend asks a great question. Who broke your nose, Nick?
I'm
He
so glad.
definitely had his nose broken, right? Somebody popped.
It's got to be recent.
Somebody popped that motherfucker, and it's always been a little crooked, but
Right, it's got it had character to it.
a little bit. But someone popped him once.
Now a fucking character punched him.
Mm-hmm. Not a single challenging question, not a single thought-provoking question, nothing. Nothing. Look, when we get the defense daddies on here one day, we're going to ask them all the hard questions. We're going to have the live chat going, in fact. We're going to take listener, viewer questions.
Hard questions like, hey,
check Discord, DB, before you say anything. Just
why? Okay, let me check.
Just check. But we're going to ask all the hard questions.
Oh,
okay. You guys are autistic too? What? I knew there was a reason I felt at home.
I think the number one question that I would ask Brad Rossi is, what kind of cologne do you wear?
That's a great question. Oh,
you know?
What kind of cologne do you think he wears? Or does he not need it because his
Cavion Sauvignon, some kind of wine? Smell it like some. You're like, is that a wine or is that a cologne?
Say it again.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Cabernet Sauvignon. Is that his wine?
I don't know what it is.
I think he probably just smells good.
God, could that juror be any more stupid? They're like, Brad Rossi, he just kind of glared. No, that's a smolder, sir, ma'am. Like, a gentleman's thinking of some stuff. He's plotting in his head how this whole thing's going to shake out. Give him some time.
That juror, I don't have anything to say to that juror. All I know is that I can't relate to that. If I had to pick out one person on the planet, who I had the least in common with, it would be that juror. In general, everything she said, I couldn't relate. Nothing. Literally nothing.
Well, I think the juror had some really good thoughts.
I didn't.
And the juror.
Oh God.
Yeah. This is what jurors do. And we gotta leave space, and we gotta make sure that jurors are heard. You know, this is what it's all about. You know, talking to people after the case, after the trial, and saying, you know, what happened.
It's about Abby and Libby, their families, and this community, this nation, and even our planet.
What? Our planet? Why is he roping in the planet?
Oh, fuck, wrong avatar. My bad.
DP, what is that?
I'm in the shoe.
Oh, no. No, if you were in the shoe, you'd be in red because you're bad. You'd be in red.
Oh, yeah, true.
Why is he roping at the planet? Hey, it's DB Guevara.
Try to find
there you are with your birds.
Thought I made a new one.
There's DB Luigi. Louis DB.
Yeah, Luigi.
There's the OG. That one just gets me. That's the one.
We got to leave space for everybody.
I know.
Okay, we got to leave space for people that don't understand reasonable doubt, and that's okay. We got to give people grace.
Whose motherfucking voice is that? That is who is that?
Mind Shock.
Mind Shock. He changed his channel name, by the way.
Yeah, Bruce McGuire.
Who is that?
Right, dude.
Yeah, who is Bruce McGuire? What a good name. Is it real? I don't know. Put the sweater back on, D.
Okay, so Dickless McLeodus, I got something to show you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, ma'am. Okay, actually, it's not quite done yet. Will you stall for another second?
Yeah. So I actually, when we're done doing a Dickless McLeodus, sounds like Steve Buscemi, Bruce McGuire. When we're done with the McLeodus, I went through, because I kind of want to talk before the interview came out today, before I noticed it. I was working on a little something. I want to know exactly how the Rick Allen tip came to be. And we've talked about this a couple times. Yeah, I think you're right. Obviously, we're doing a harp, we're doing a rehash, we're doing a fixate. That's what we do here. But we're going to do it again until we figure out what the fuck went down with the filing cabinet. So I went and I opened up, I'm not trying to point, but I feel very passionately about the Kathy Shanks filing cabinet.
You're not pointing at me, are you?
No. Maybe.
Okay. I thought for a second, but you're good.
Hi, Terry. Good to see you. I went through Miss Shank's testimony. Thank you, Fiend. CapCut has your video? Oh, fuck CapCut. DB could probably get it out of Carbon for you.
As the digital forensics expert on the internet, I have a secret for you. It's called a VPN. Right. Tel Aviv. I was just visiting Tel Aviv the other day, and some of my good friends said, "Have you heard of CapCut?" And I said, "Oh, you mean this? It works in Tel Aviv, so just do a little hop, skip, and a jump to the motherland, and you get
the motherland." Right? Exactly. So get a VPN.
That's right. Promo code RNMVPN15.
We should do promos
for VPN.
Okay, y'all. I want to hear everyone's best guess as to who would sponsor RNM.
Adult diapers by Pampers.
Yeah. Why you gotta rope in the entire planet? Right. CapCut also owned. Yeah, that's why it's gone.
Evie, don't. I was sending all my Dickless McLeodus memes to the Chinese government, and I was okay with that, and they had to fucking ruin it for me.
Me undies, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is not a good one. No. They're not having a great year. They're not having a great few months. The meal company Factor, VPN, Xanax. Perfect.
Oh yeah, Factor meals. We don't eat here. All we do is look up All Eyes documents and copy and paste segments of the PCA to people on Twitter. We don't eat.
Yep. No.
Do you have a microwave? Do you want a microwave? No, because the 5G and the microwave waves are impeding your ability to focus on the case.
Right.
So we can't do that.
Campbell Soup is a good one. Campbell Soup, Adderall, Adam and Eve.
Oh, Adderall. Yes.
Blue Chew is good. Yeah, Blue Chew would definitely be.
Blue Chew is perfect. Can you not stop thinking about how fucking stupid Nicholas McClellan is when you're having an intimate moment? Take a Blue Chew.
Take a Blue Chew, and it might not stop the thoughts, but it will help everything else. You will get through it. I like DB Tragos or DB Luigi. Yeah, same. Victoria's Secret. BetterHelp.
Do you have something? Oh, BetterHelp. Yeah. You don't make me do my BetterHelp bit. Do you have something against the incarcerated? Huh? When they're formerly incarcerated?
Yeah. So, all of that to say, while I'm doing a stall, Kraft Mac and Cheese. Hey, True Crime Fangirl, that sounds really good right now. Actually, I'm really hungry. I just got really hungry when you said that. A grandma who they could manipulate, maybe. But here's the thing. I went through Andrea's testimony from the trial, and I went through and I kind of made it like a little more digestible. I'd like to go through it with everybody, because I'm pretty sure, based on what we've heard from other interviews that Ms. Shank has done since then, the math is not mathing. That Officer Kathy, it's not mathing. So why don't we do that? DB, how much time do you need?
Not Kavena mapping either.
Yeah. Hi, Emily. I'm always late, which is crazy because Angie's always late. Exactly. You're in the right place then, my dear. Oh, Chipotle would be a really good sponsor. DB, would that be considered a conflict? Would that be does that violate your non-compete clause? Is that double dipping?
Yeah, I talked to them. I talked to corporate office. I said, hey, corporate office. They said, who the fuck are you, loser? And I said, okay, well, I'm the fucking third lead on the Barbacoa line out here in Cyprus. Would you chill the fuck out? They're like, get out of my face. So it's not
just live my life. Who's Christopher Shank? We sent the cranks on a journey. We are looking for any connection between Miss Kathy Shank and Mr. Christopher Shank. And if you don't know who that is, go on Twitter, follow me, Fiend, All Eyes. Who else has posted about Christopher Shank?
Belinda.
Dave. So go. I already said that. So go on to Twitter and look for Christopher Shank. And
don't do that.
What?
That's okay. Go ahead.
We're looking for a connection because 2 + 2 = 4, and perhaps there is a connection between Kathy Shank and Christopher Shank. Perhaps. I don't know. You think I'm afraid of a Nazi theme? Come on.
Wait, there's a
Nazis
connection
for breakfast. I don't know.
Is it like the connection between Jerry Harshman, CO, corrections officer in Westfield Control Unit?
And Brian Hirschman, the pervert, in the room upstairs watching 700 hours of Rick in his cell.
I thought he was saying he watched 700 hours of Seventh Heaven.
Well, he did. Did I ever? Okay, remind me. Did I say? Okay.
Yeah, we got to get to Seventh Heaven.
Okay. We'll have to do like a side bit, off of our side bit, like a side bit 4 times removed, and we have to talk about Seventh Heaven on this channel one time at least. Okay. But Aunt, you aren't allowed to do that stuff anymore now that you've reached the 200 live viewer threshold. Damn. Well, fine.
Get away with it get away from it. In this case, it was hard to get away with it get away from.
Okay, we see this gentleman here.
Cletus
McDickleton.
Oh, yeah, where's our spreadsheet? Oh my god. It looks just like him. Aw.
See, what was taking me so long is I kept having to push the hairline back more, dude.
That's really good, actually. You even got his outfit right. The tie matches.
Yep. It's just Ned is not vile enough, really. That's the issue.
Or get away from.
Do you need another minute, DB?
No, I got his hairline pushed back far enough. We're good.
Amazing. Did you upload it into our repository?
Yeah, look what it's named.
Okay, let me see. Let's see what's named. Let's see. It's really good. I like this name. This one's good.
Yeah, it was really just kind of making that one more.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Wait, this one just goes and goes. You have to. It won't stop. Yeah. It just goes and goes. Okay.
You know what GIFs are?
I didn't know that they would just go and go.
Yo, play that Brad one. Bing bong.
15-year-old thugs.
Yeah, there he is. Brad Weber just left. Brad Weber had it.
In that corner, whoa, bitch, hold on tight, cause I tweaking this bitch.
Got to get to the important stuff here. Sorry about that.
I'm freezing. I'm absolutely freezing. Should we do a Shank and a Doolin? We've got time. We've only been live for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, wow. I could do another 3 hours on this.
I know. Let me do a Shank and a Doolin then. I mean, I feel like it's important because I can't make sense of it. I can't make heads or tails of it. But I am going to go and get it.
I can't make a tail or a head of it.
I can't make it. Never mind.
You didn't do a Boone?
Should I do a Boone? He's sleeping. He seems comfy.
No,
he did. Okay, he did like a massive. Oh, Skinny, thank you so much. The $10 super chat, and it says 666. I don't know what that means, but I like it. It feels really good. It feels like you're right at home. It is a cold motherfucking Tennessee. I believe that. Thank you so much, Skinny. That was so generous of you. Miko is eating a coffee cake from Starbucks. Is that what I saw? Yes. Dude, I love a coffee cake. $10 holla. Can you kiss Oops Boone on the head for me the next time you see him? Yeah, he's right here. He's really warm. He smells like corn chips. DB's like, oh, because he hates dogs. He hates animals. He only likes birds. Who is Rich Davies? Rich Davies is an FBI agent. Or FBI. What is he?
Who are you, Rich Davies? Because
former?
You never been mentioned in a federal criminal case.
Remember that? Didn't he become a merit? Am I thinking of the right person, DB? Didn't we do a deep dive into Davies? He's a merit deputy and his pants were like 8 sizes too big.
Sounds about right.
Is he good or bad?
He's fucking bad, dude.
He's bad, dude. Fiend knows all about Davies. Just kidding. Fiend doesn't know anything about Davies. I'm sad he did the eyeballs. You don't do the eyeballs unless you want to be called out by the teacher in the classroom.
Well,
no, I know.
I'm the teacher because I'm fucking schooling everybody on this shit.
Bye, Jake Snyder. Good to see you.
Peace out, Jake Snyder.
He has odd. A lovely cigarette can barely text because it's so cold. Exodus is doing a real cigarette, not a vape. We're not going to go into that. We're not going to fall into that hole again tonight, but it does sound like he's doing a real. Yeah, the top is too sugary. Who is Christopher Shank? Emily. Look, do a search on Twitter on mine. No, do on Fiend. Look on Fiend's. Look on Weircat's Twitter timeline and just do a type of tap. Fiend want to be me so bad. I don't know what the lore is there, but I like it.
We just created some lore. Fucking Nat's on the writing team now, dude. That was fucking fire. With the glasses, they'll take it.
I like it. I like it. BRB, my weather app, says it's snowing. Nicholas is so numb. Nicholas Mcleland. Okay, DB, can you do a 5-minute spit? Or if not, I can just put up like a sensory. I'm gonna go get a cookie. I might refill my tumbler.
Yeah, let's do it. Get the fuck up out of here.
All right, I'll be right back.
Move this fucking shit. Boom. What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? And just doing a wander. She's doing a self-care. I think that's nice. I think that's cool. I think that's good. I wanted to say that looks like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are down 15-31 to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I don't know how everybody feels about this game. I will say, last time we heard from a defense daddy, he was very concerned about the Notre Dame game. And I think that we should all have our thoughts with him. We should all, in our minds, give Notre Dame a bump. I don't care if you went to Ohio State. You like Ohio State? Shut the fuck up right now. Okay? Put that shit. Bury it. Y'all got enough fucking national champions. We need Notre Dame to pull this one out for Brad. So everybody bow your head. Archdiocese of Notre Dame, will you please give Brad Rousey the power to channel his favorite team to victory over Ohio State? Because Judge Gall went to Ohio State and so did Nick McClelland and Jerry Holman, except for Jerry Holman didn't graduate because he's too stupid. Fucking idiot. Amen. That was really nice. It's the Ohio State. Yeah, okay. Did y'all hear Hella earlier? I said, can you do an American accent? That shit was fucking fire, dude. Well, see, I don't get hate crime much. Professor Rozzi, because I live in Ohio and the Buckeyes fans are insufferable. I mean, I'm from Ohio and I'm ashamed they went to school here. Yeah, all three of them went to school there. That's so nice of you to say thank you. Oh, Scales of Justice. I was like, I didn't fucking thank you, Chilo. Digital. Maybe I was lying. Main Nick's parlays never hit. Well, that motherfucker hit a one hell of a parlay. He said fucking white van, fake confessions, and a bullshit bullet. And somehow that fucking parlay hit. And not to mention his fucking parlay of dipshit Steve Mullen, Jerry Holman, and fucking Douglas McClentleberry up there doing riddles. That shit all hit. God, dude. What do you think Doug Carter's up to right now? I'll bet he has a wood burner and he's just out in the woods fucking burning quotes into a fucking tree, dude. Shit he said. Steve Mullen is not a liar.
Okay, bitch.
But Jerry Holman is not a liar.
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 Why is he so emotional, dude? Would you calm down, sir?
We love you all.
Yep. Let me refresh the game over here. Solo content time. Isolation game. DC is reading The Shack. Yeah, he probably is. He probably never even fucking read it the first time, and now he's like, I guess I'll get into this book. Do you have a Mullen meme? Boy, do I. Where the hell have you been? Oh, that was not it. There you go, dude. Did you know that Steve Mullen works for your Geek Squad now? Are you a 80-year-old grandma who has plenty of pictures of their grandchildren all on your hard drive of your 2005 HP laptop? Do you need those pictures that you'll never be able to see again if something were to happen to them? Do you want this nice man from the United Methodist Church of Delphi to help you with transferring those files over to a new device? Call Steve Mullen, Geek Squad Sergeant. Now, actually, what you need to call for, are you a dark web Adderall super trader? Do you try to do day trading and you need more Adderall, and you've really been communicating a little bit too much on the dark web? Call Steve Mullen. He'll set you up. He'll clear that fucking computer and every single hard drive you have on accident, and no one will know the wiser. That's because this man is a walking fucking recycling bin. Choose your fighter. Who do you want to represent you in court? The nice PTA lady on the left? Or the former police chief? Who do you want to do your phone extraction? Who do you want to look at it? Who do you want to be the tech person in charge of your trial? Do you know? Because on the left here, the motherfucking grocery cart ain't the only cart this lady's got by her initials. Okay? She's a fucking FBI cart team veteran over here. That ain't nothing but fucking Steve McMullenberry. She can use a laptop. Your soul was the price. Buddy, I appreciate you paying attention to that. That's very nice. That is right. To be on that level, you have to sell your soul. Now, for me, I am without a soul. So mine is cheap. I'll sell you an empty box. That's how I made my fortune. I used to actually sell fake signed autographs of Randy Johnson dolls. Man, I'd say, DB. The first one I sold, they wrote me and said, DB, this is the fucking best Randy Johnson signature I've ever fucking seen. And I said, yeah, because he signed it, dumbass. They said, I'll take 500 more. And I sent them 500 balls that I bought from Walmart for $1,500 each. And now I'm going to donate all that money to the Richard Allen Apologist Fund. He gone. My bad, man. I'm back. No, I'm back. I'm back now. Oop. I'm in Krebin. Okay, well, let's see if I can find a clip. Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you got to say. How was the cookie? We all know I don't do cookies in my home.
Yeah, Deeps, let's talk. You want to talk about it?
Okay. No. Wait a second. Hold those back up. No.
Why?
Get them back up here.
Why?
Those look like the fucking Chex Mix of all time next to your little ass hand. Look like fucking 8x8 Chex Mix. Pull one of them out. God, dude.
They're normal size.
Oh
Just a normal little.
Okay, fine. Little pretzel.
Was Hunty in here?
Boop, boop. Small hand alert.
I missed Hunty. Oh no, it's not. I didn't have any cookies left. I didn't have any. I ate all of them. I even ate the ones I don't like. So, Deebs, why don't you do a cookie?
Just can't be having that. Can't be doing that. It's,
Why?
It's too much. I have a cookie. I eat it. That's all there is to it. And that's unbecoming of a gentleman in my stature. I'm 6'13". Can't be doing
I know.
cookies.
You are 6'13". This is a fact. Do we want to do a shank?
Yeah, shank it up.
Because I just have questions, you know?
Let's hear it, dude. Fucking do it already. Ain't
All
stopping your
right.
ass.
You're a little mouthy tonight.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, I don't mind. I think it actually it brings in the viewers like the they like the there's Asian Andy. Love it.
Dude, I love how they're like, wow, why would they say that? Somebody made a joke about him looking Asian, and then you fucking see it, dude.
You're like, I'll fuck me running. He looks Asian, don't he?
Dude,
He looks
sure
Asian
do.
AF. How do I get to scroll? All right, here we go. Shank testimony, October 24th. So this is from Andrea's recap. So she goes right into it. Kathy is talking about how she came to be on the investigation, what her role is, yada, yada, yada. And so she says they had a command center set up in a separate building. There was a vacant building, so it allowed them to go ahead and move into that one because the volume of police officers. So I think they were in the REMC building temporarily, if I remember correctly, which is, I don't know what it stands for. It's like a big city, county building. She started off as the receptionist. Remember that clip where she was like, I just came back from Yep. She's like, I was just about to say that is going to be my wanted poster. What am I armed with there? What is that? What am I holding?
Oh, that's a 6-hour P226 West German.
Judgy's locked in. Let's go. All right. So they set up this command center, and Kathy is the receptionist. She starts taking tips when people come in person, because I guess that's something that they would do. They would come in person, and they would give tips that way. They would also email tips, and she would refer those tips along to the detective. There was an information sheet that she would create. Y'all hear that? Kathy would create an information sheet containing the name based on like word of mouth tips, I guess, that people would bring. So she'd like get a sheet, put the name, how to identify them, contact them, and a summary of what they wanted to communicate. So I imagine, I agree, but I imagine that this is just for basically don't we have a meme talking about the defense team partnering with internet cranks? I think we have it somewhere. We'll have to find it. Anyway, so she would go ahead and put a tip, an information sheet, she's calling it. So this is the very first thing that she would do when she first started helping them, as I understand it. So then, oops, I have to do a scroll.
My bad. I didn't realize I was unmuted.
What'd you what?
I didn't realize I was unmuted. I was laughing.
I heard you. Okay.
Just different personality of mine. It's so funny.
I love that. I love that. So it doesn't say what date she was brought on. It just says like around March 1st, I believe. Later on, she was given more duties. Her first assignment, ready? Here comes the banker's box. Shank was given numerous banker's boxes full of investigative reports. Police had followed up on leads. Look, these. Police had followed up on leads. They had written summaries. They spoke with people, and they described that in their reports. Boxes and boxes of this type of information. So that would be handwritten investigative reports from police officers. Shank was to organize them in a way that was going to make them more accessible. So she got some filing cabinets, and she created her own system to label.
That's Orion, right?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to that. This is her own system. Like, this is not anything with nothing with Orion yet. She got filing cabinets, and she was organizing them in a way. Let's see. She created her own system to label them. She stuck them in their own little folder, and she had a labeling system where she would name the file based on, is this person a witness, a person of interest, or like other? So she'd put their names, and then containing the report, and then that related to that individual would go in the folder. Does that make sense? So she created this system for loose paper reports where she would write the person's name on the folder, and then the narrative or written reports would go inside the folder, and they would be labeled based on whether they were a suspect or person of interest or tipster or witness or other, I guess. Okay, that's the story so far. Shank was asked specifically not to go in and read or get into the details of any of the reports. She wouldn't label maker crazy. Been there.
How many people in this chat have a Cricut that they don't use? Be honest.
No, but I want one. I know Deb Lowe loves hers. We talk about it sometimes. Anyway.
He's calling on it. How's your Cricut doing?
Yeah, sometimes when we talk. Look, Jerry, I put the tips in tinfoils. Oh my God. Look at her. God. Can't stand that woman. Something about her. There's just something about Miss Shank. So she's asked specifically not to go in and read the investigative reports, not to get into the details of the reports. She ultimately filed about 5 multiple drawer filing cabinets full of these reports. To recap, these are reports that were in banker boxes, and all it says is that these banker boxes were full of investigative reports. Police followed up on leads and then had written summaries. So these are written summaries in banker's boxes that she's then organizing with her own file system in her cabinets, as I understand it. Confusing so far. Don't worry, it'll get more confusing. Then she created an organized system so that she would store them so that they're accessible, so that people could find things. This is verbatim. They did not, she just kind of brought this up, which Andrea thought was interesting. Let me do a scroll. She mentioned that there was another coworker that worked with her on that. Have we ever heard of another coworker that worked with her on that? Because first of all, I guess she's a coworker, not a volunteer.
Sure wasn't any fucking cops. These motherfuckers couldn't find their asshole from their elbow.
Couldn't have been. So who the fuck was it? Who was working with her, and why has their name never come up? Weird. Weird, weird, weird. Weird. Yep, Emily, you are 100% right. She stole a kid. We'll get to that, Judge Jesse.
Yeah, and
Judgy
James Luttrell
Jesse.
stole a fucking Range Rover.
True.
I
Also
would trade
true.
any kid for a Range Rover. And my dignity.
Oh, that's nice, Deeps. She is the receptionist, Judge Jessica. She's the receptionist, apparently, but she's a volunteer. Weird. Anyway, we'll get into that. Range Rover. All right, so there wasn't any background information, background checking done on those assisting volunteering. It's very much a trust system because they've known her for years. She'd worked with them for years. No real vetting of the people who were doing this type of work. So Kathy and this other person that we don't get to know their name. Sometime after the filing system was started, the tips began to slow down, as they do. After Kathy finished her filing system, she was given a new responsibility of entering the narrative summaries into a database. Keep in mind, I didn't realize this until I reread the trial notes from Andrea. The name Orion, like they never once say the name of the database until Brad Rosie elicits that from them, which is weird. Why are they not saying Orion? Hey, lawyer's daughter. Hey, Heather Brown. Good to see you. Heather Brown, our wife, is here. Okay. So anyway, so after she finished the filing system, her new responsibility was to enter the narrative summaries into a database to make everything more accessible and to be able to cross-reference more efficiently than a filing cabinet. What a novel concept. You'd think that they would have started this before. Yes, Percosin, 100%. This is my main take, is that this was to avoid any kind of oversight. But why are we entering things after we've already filled 5 filing cabinets? Why are we not entering things right away? I don't know. We'll get to that too. So the summaries would be in a report. The report said what happened, who was spoken to, who was contacted, if there was any evidence, whatever the officer did that was put in that report. I guess these are also handwritten. Database was organized. Oh, the database organized the case in leads, but it was organized by leads, right? So each lead was assigned a unique identifying number, so a lead number. And then the leads would be put into what was called a covered lead section. Okay. DB, are you still here?
Yeah.
Okay. Lead, so that would be like that DIN number that we saw in the Frank's memo, right? On the holder tip. That would be a lead number.
Frank's memo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Would that be like the lead number, DIN number, kind of?
Seems like it.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, sir. You can go back to your nap. So covered lead was something that somebody had responded to, and that was to distinguish it from a lead that they didn't do anything with or didn't follow up with. Scary to think that there are leads that they didn't do anything with or follow up with, but anyway, these reports were all generated from leads that were covered, meaning somebody took some type of action on it. So Kathy is only dealing with covered leads, which means they're leads that have been touched. Are we seeing how fucking confusing this is? After Kathy Shank finished entering the covered leads into the database, she was then asked to start entering tips. Tips would be forwarded to her, typically by email or the Abby and Libby tip line. So eventually, I don't know if y'all remember this, but the phone number, I believe, somehow was linked to the email, so you could call in a tip and it would also be emailed to them. And they primarily asked for tips to be sent in via email, which is interesting. They would go straight to Kathy Shank. She was the tip collector at this point in the investigation. Typically.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But also, they wanted to flood the tip line.
Yeah, with their antics. So after the tips would go straight to her. At this point in the timeline, she doesn't really give us a specific time, but at this point in the timeline, they've moved out of the REMC building and they're back in the city building. And Shank is taking her instructions directly from the Unified Command Task Force, which consists of primarily Kevin Hammond, Tony Liggett, Jay Harper, and Jerry Holman, and maybe
Jerry
like
Bean.
Rich. And who? Jelly Bean? Jerry Bean.
Jerry Bean.
And Rich Davies might have been involved at that point too. Like, I think he was pretty involved, even though he's FBI.
Jelly Roll.
FBI. So Shank identified now Sheriff Tony Liggett as her main go-to person for any questions. Eventually, law enforcement began to... What?
Say that again.
Kathy Shank identified now Sheriff Tony Liggett as her main go-to guy for questions. Oh, okay. Yeah, what?
I thought it was the other way around. I was like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Well, it probably was too. Yes, it was tip number 74, which is another thing that we don't really get clarification on, because tip number 74 doesn't seem to coincide with any lead number that we're ever told about in here. So keep that also in the peripheral somewhere. I saw a question from Chelsea. Where's Kevin Hammond? He retired. So Kevin Hammond, actually, this is an interesting thing about Kevin Hammond. Kevin Hammond was the lead detective until September 2021. And in September 2021, he was going to run for sheriff. I don't know when he decided he wasn't going to, probably when he realized that it was rigged and that Tony Liggett had all of the county support kind of from underneath him, which is another whole, there's tea there. But Kevin Hammond, how much do I want to say about this? All I feel comfortable saying is that Kevin Hammond had a situation where, I think maybe like a medical situation where he had to go get some medical attention, and that basically was his last day of work. They like used that to basically force him out. Is sort of allegedly, per sources, is what happened. They kind of used that as an opportunity to push him out. He announced his retirement the next day. So he retired officially. That's the official story. Kevin Hammond retired, decided not to run for sheriff. He just retired from his lead detective position. And that kind of paved the way for Tony Liggett to come in and be the lead on the Delphi investigation. And there's some suspicious things there with Kevin Hammond. I would have liked to have heard more from Kevin Hammond. I think Kevin Hammond probably has some things to say, but I doubt we'll hear from him because Free Karen Reed, for sure, by Joanna. I doubt we'll hear from him.
She is free.
Because, true. Keep her free. Much like Prosecutor Ives, who probably also has some things to say, he's probably going to bitch out and not actually do anything. So this is true. Yep, he stomped his way all the way up. What if it was never lost, but Rick was cleared? USA Lib, I believe that's exactly what happened. Because we're going to find out in this narrative. And also, I'm going to tell you, because I know for sure, this tip was never lost. It was never misfiled. And it was never lost. So
if you're never lost, how can you be found?
Exactly. You can't be. So this is funny. So she says, eventually the law enforcement officers also began to kind of fall off and investigate other things, and fewer were still involved in assisting the double homicide investigation. Schenck described the investigators distilling into a more cohesive group. So like a clique, like a little tiny cliquey group of like the 5 thumbs, basically. At that point, they didn't need her to be a receptionist anymore. So she's behind the scenes in a back room, not attending their meetings, but largely doing administrative work. So she says. She brought the filing cabinets with her whenever the investigation center moved. And she says they still exist today, and she's very protective of her filing cabinets. Through the process of running the tip line and taking the tips, she started to enter the tips into the database as well. Notice she said that she was running the tip line. Did we hear this? Kathy Schenck, friends, volunteer, not a law enforcement officer, no training on how to take tips or run an FBI database, was running the tip line and taking tips. So she started to enter, then she started actually entering tips into the database herself. So September 2020, Kathy is asked to start scanning information from each file in her filing cabinet into the database. So they're like, you see those 5 paper-filled filing cabinets that you've created and birthed? It's probably time to start scanning some of all of that paper into the FBI database that was literally given to us for this fucking purpose, for this reason, because all of that should have been in there from day one. But anyway, the tips and a majority of the summaries were already in the database, so they say, but there were other documents in Schenck's filing system that would need to be entered, as well as any tips or summaries that hadn't made it into the database in the first place. So now they're saying that, well, actually most of the summaries were of the filing cabinets, like the associated lead or the associated number, whatever, was already in the database. And this was just like additional addendum, whatever stuff to add, I guess. Are we lost? I am. Schenck said that process took her about 2 years to scan all of the supplemental pieces of paper into their database to go into their associated lead, covered lead folder in the database, okay? According to her, she did not read every report while she entered it. She is clearly getting more and more access to details about the investigation, but she's not primarily focused on becoming familiar with the details of the case. Okay, Kathy. All right, Kathy. September 2021. This is a very important month, by the way. This is around the time. Never mind. This is a very important month for the Unified Command Task Force. September 2021 is when they push Kevin Hammond out, usher Tony Liggett in. His campaign starts. Oh my God. Who is that, Deeves? Who is that?
Why is that Ron Wilkins' face?
It literally is. Who is that?
That's Ron Wilkins, the reporter from
Why?
Star.
Why?
I don't know. I was just
Who
wondering
is
if you guys
that?
knew.
I don't know. He looks great. So yeah. So September 2021, they push the lead investigator Kevin Hammond out. He retires. He gets the boot. Tony Liggett becomes the lead detective on the case. His campaign for sheriff officially kind of gets off the ground.
Here's a picture from the campaign.
Yep, there it is. They go before the city council, Delphi County commissioners and city council. And we've talked about the shady building acquisition before. I'm not going to get into it now, but if you want, I'll post something later. There was that was Ron Wilkins. Yeah, that's Ron. He looks great.
Are you performing in a Civil War reenactment as a young general in the Southern Army?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. He's doing a fun, cheeky little Are
you doing a Confederate?
Cosplay. Yeah, he is. It is a little. Maybe he's a Union. He's with the Union Army. Maybe he's a freedom fighter.
Nobody in the Union in fucking Indiana.
Maybe he's an abolitionist. There's probably one or two.
An abolition
there's some abolition except they're all in here. So probably not Ron. Kathy is protecting her filing cabinets. So anyway, the task force goes before the city council, county council. This is relevant, I promise. And they basically have this very kind of shady acquisition taking place of a brand new building, separate from, it's like on the very outskirts of town on like 8th Street in Delphi somewhere. It's like a friend owns it and he's going to lease it to them for a year. It becomes their, in Indiana was fucking Union. Well, there you go, Fiend. I learned something. See, I gave the benefit of the doubt. Indiana was part of the Union Army. There you go. So they acquire this brand new building in September 2021. It is completely separate from all other buildings. It's not inside the city building anymore. It's not inside the sheriff's department anymore. It's literally their own task force building solely dedicated to the Abby and Libby homicide investigation. An entire building.
The fucking bitch-made Barbie house.
It's the bitch-made Barbie. Oh yeah, I did call it that because Steve Mullen Steve Mullen designed it for Nick McCleland. He made a Mullen bitch-made Barbie house. Barbie dream house. That's what it is. The Barbie dream house for the boys. So anyway, they create this big task force building just for the investigation. Remember, this is September 2021. What's going on in September 2021 as it relates to the investigation? Literally nothing. Come to find out,
Keegan Klein.
There you go. Deebs is right. They were, as they thought, this close to arresting their Delphi murder monster, Keegan Klein. Okay, keep that in mind. So September, they're in this brand new building. They have essentially siloed and insulated and protected their investigation. It's completely separate from the rest of that building. Let me tell you something about that building. They would not even let Deb Lowe, who was the main editor and reporter for the Comet at the time, they would not even let her go inside to take a picture. They wouldn't even let her go inside to look at it, to report on it, despite the fact that thousands of dollars of taxpayer money was being poured into this building for security, for secure interview rooms, for technology. You should see how much money they spent on their fucking video system that they apparently wasn't. Well, actually, no, they would have already lost the interviews by now. So forget that. But anyway, very secret, weird building. And that's their investigation headquarters. At the same time, moving back to Shank goes with them, with her filing cabinets. They move again because they needed more room. Convenient. She brings her filing cabinets with her to Fort Knox, essentially. She says on the stand, quote, "They were mine," the filing cabinets. They go with her. when she was asked to estimate how many tips she herself had taken and processed into the database, she said it had to be a little over 14,000 the last time she checked. So that's where that 14,000 number is from. That's how many tips Kathy Shank herself entered into the database per her count. The database had a system to be able to identify who had processed the tips, so she's able to go back and search by her name. And according to her, her name shows 14,000, about 14,000 tips that she's processed. Yep. In the process of moving from the city building to the new task force building, Kathy Shank was taking the materials with her, and she discovered a box that had gone into a desk drawer during the process of her scanning. Now, the timeline here isn't quite making a lot of sense to me because they moved to that building in September 2021. Yet Kathy's saying she found this box in the desk drawer September 2022. So what were you doing for a year, and what did you not open? It's just odd. Okay, we're just going to use the word odd. Another thing that's odd. If Kathy didn't do a medal, Ricky Allen would be free. That's just the truth. So in the process of moving, so she's taking all the materials with her. She discovers this box in a drawer during the process of scanning. While going through the box, Shank saw handwritten tip numbers, which informed her that they preceded the creation of the database. The database would automatically assign a lead number, and these were handwritten tip numbers. So there was no coinciding lead number on them yet, which means they predated the database, usage of the database. So Kathy needed to think of a way to reconcile these handwritten tips that preceded the automatic lead assignment because she was the primary one in charge of creating and maintaining the database. And these tips were things that had been written out before she came onto the investigation. So pre-March 1st, 2017 is what she's saying. So these are just, I guess, I don't know. We're going to just keep going because I don't know. I'm also going to send this out and maybe y'all can parse through it and help me at a later time and figure out what the fuck is going on here. Shank came on March 1st, 2017. The investigation obviously started February 14th, 2017. So for about 2 weeks, there were things that were handwritten, and these particular ones apparently had been put to the side and somehow ended up in this box that ended up in her desk after 3 moves, y'all. I believe 3 moves. This box just is in the desk. Okay. All right. That's fine. We'll keep going. It gets better. So while Shank is going through this box, she finds a lead sheet stating that on February 16th, 2017, Richard Allen self-reported being on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30 and had seen the girls. So Kathy Shank is claiming that this lead sheet, handwritten note on a lead sheet, says that he self-reports 1:30 to 3:30, which is odd because nobody actually will say that Rick really ever said 3:30. He said 1 to 3 is what Doolin said. I don't know where this 3:30 is coming from. It certainly wouldn't have existed on the 16th of February when he's self-reporting. So we're going to come back to that. But how's long for a straight answer? Any day now, lawyer's daughter, any day now. So let's keep going. So Shank's going through the box and she finds this handwritten lead sheet that says on February 16th, 2017, Rick Allen calls, self-reports, hey, I was on the trails between apparently 1:30 and 3:30 allegedly, and I saw 3 girls. So while it's not Shank's job to read through and be familiar with the details of the case, and at one point she'd even been specifically told not to do that, interesting that they need to tell her that, she had previously read that a young girl had seen a man on the trails around the same time in the place that Allen apparently had reported being. Huh? Yeah, dude, a lot of people, what did he say? I was at this exact point, or did he say I was walking the trails around this time? How many other people were on the trail at that time, Kathy? Because we know from trial that there were like over a dozen other people walking the trails during that time frame. Okay. This is exactly what happened, lawyer's daughter. 100%. So she says, oh, I remember previously reading, even though I'm not supposed to be reading anything, a young girl saw a man on the trails around the same time. This is her sworn testimony from trial, y'all. And that seemed like a possible connection, and it caused Shank to take that concern and check it out in her filing cabinet to see what she could find. Shank says on the stand she has no idea how that lead ended up in that box. Okay. Shank had apparently filed, so listen, when Shank says that she found this in 2022, she's lying because she says here, she apparently filed a lead like this back in 2017, but she didn't remember it. So you did process this in 2017, Shank. You're the one that cleared him probably, or at least that passed through your fucking gremlin hands in February 2017 or March 2017 or whenever the fuck it passed through your gremlin hands and went into the database. But she didn't remember it at the time. This particular lead had been created back in February 2017 before she started assisting with the investigation, and Shank assumes the box contained things that had come in before March when she started. She's like, it must have been before I was here because I don't remember seeing any of these, and they're not entered in the database, which means they must predate the database. Okay, Kathy. Shank had never prepared written sheets for her part of the investigation, so that's part of how she knew that these pre-existed the database. Okay, so apparently these are handwritten lead sheets. This sheet listed the name of the person as Richard Allen Whiteman. Whiteman was listed as the last name. Got it. So it's a written something or other with Richard Allen Whiteman written on it. Shank went and located Richard Allen Whiteman in her filing cabinets. And inside that filing folder, found a narrative summary that had been entered into the database back in February 2017, stating that Richard Allen had been interviewed. And the tip numbers coincided. Is it a form? Did it have a first and last name section? Great question, Deebs. I don't know. She doesn't specify. Her testimony's a fucking mess. So she takes this paper lead sheet that she finds in the magic banker's box in the magic drawer that said Richard Allen Whiteman, and she goes, for some reason, of all the papers that were in that banker's box, this Richard Allen Whiteman one, she said, walks over to her filing cabinets and has a file folder for him already. And there's a narrative summary already. And it had already been entered into the database back in February, saying that this man had been interviewed. And the tip numbers coincided. That's not a lost tip. That to me sounds like a fucking cleared lead. That's an eyewitness statement. You interviewed him, you got the information you needed, and you cleared it. What is the confusion? Like, there is none. It's very simple. He wasn't a suspect. He wasn't a POI. He was literally an eyewitness offering information about what he saw while he was there. That's it. Kathy realized that Richard Allen Whiteman on her paper lead and Richard Allen were the same. Wow, Kathy. Amazing. Her deduction abilities are just phenomenal. She realized that these were the same motherfucking person. There was a connection there based on the narrative summary that she found in the file. Okay. The lead narrative that she got had a mark on it indicating that it had been cleared. The lead narrative that she got had a mark on it. So I'm assuming that this lead narrative is that what she finds in her banker's box in her drawer? Or is that something that's in her filing cabinet? Or is that something that's in the database? Because now we've got 3 different places where we're storing investigative information about one individual. and you want us to have confidence in your investigation, you've got your shit in 3 different places. Kathy, what are you doing? So this lead narrative that she got had a mark on it indicating cleared. So her coding system had marked green on cleared files, which is a really passive way of saying she marked it cleared green, right? She made it green because it's her fucking system. She's not the one who decided if they were cleared or not, by the way, or followed up on them. Well, obviously, Kathy, you're not an investigator. You're a gremlin. You're a volunteer gremlin. When she found this lead sheet in this file, she took the information to Tony Liggett. Pause, though, because first she took it and went to her filing cabinet. And then from her filing cabinet, she went to the Orion database. And then she went in the Orion database and she tippy, changed some shit around on it. And then she went to Tony Liggett. She did a sua sponte investigation. That's what she did. Pause. I am paused. So she saw that this was cleared. Yeah. Should I still be paused, Steves? Pause. She said, I have 40 years of experience, actually. Oh, not for yet. Okay. So, right. So it says cleared, but Kathy decided that it needed further follow-up. So she does all of this shit. Let's have a moment of silence for Kathy. So she brings it to Tony Liggett after she sua sponte decides that this person who was just an eyewitness individual, not a POI, who was cleared, who was not anybody that needed any following up on, she decided that he was now a POI. Do y'all realize? She decided upon her own sua sponte bullshit ass that Richard Allen, not only was his real name Richard Allen, she did a deduction, but also, hey, this is suspicious because he saw 3 girls. And so now I've decided that this is actually a POI and I'm going to bring it to Tony Liggett, who's desperate to win an election right now. Okay. So she brings it to Tony based on ascertaining that the original name had just been misnotified as Mr. Richard Allen Whiteman. She went ahead and changed the name in her own filing cabinet to Richard Allen. Y'all, it was only mislabeled as Richard Allen Whiteman in one place. Her own motherfucking filing cabinet. Okay? So the tip lead sheet apparently said Richard Allen Whiteman, whatever. She had it labeled in her filing cabinet as Richard Allen Whiteman. Okay? So she changed it. The girls that Rick saw, it was a teenage girl and 2 very young girls. Like she was on the trail, like maybe she was babysitting or something. It was like a little sister and a friend or something. 3 girls. One was like an older teen and the other were like 2 like maybe elementary school age girls. Not the same girls that Kathy's trying to force into this narrative to make Rick Bridge Guy. He saw 3 girls, an older teen and 2 young like children that were with them. Whereas Kathy's trying to say that he saw Bree Wilbur, Cheyenne, Rayleigh, and whoever the fuck else was there. He's trying to say that it was them. Or she's trying to say it was them. It wasn't. It was 3 entirely different girls that he saw at the Freedom Bridge, nowhere fucking near the place where Bree and Riley and whatever. Also, all of their names are fucking stupid. Sorry. I don't know how to spell Riley because it's spelled 8 different ways. Bree, B-R-I-E. I'm sorry if your name is Bree, but like, I don't fuck with the witnesses because all of them are not credible and they all piss me off. I don't care that they were teenagers at the time. I think they were probably manipulated. They were probably gaslit. That really sucks. But also, let's talk about the fact that Bree Wilbur was staying the night at Kelsey German's house the night before the murders. Let's talk about that later. Just saying. Anyway, so Kathy went ahead and changed her own filing cabinet label to Richard Allen from Richard Allen Whiteman. I'm telling you, she's friends with innocent people in her life so she can take possession of their children and rent them out to neglectful and abusive parents like in the Logansport cop and Becky Patty. You know what? There was a time where I would go, oh, stop it. Nothing that you just said sounds crazy, my friend. I would believe it. Shank discovered that tip sheet in the desk drawer on September 21st, 2022. She remembered the date because it was her dead husband's birthday. Well, Kathy, what a way to commemorate your dead husband's birthday. Frame an innocent man, sua sponte, switch him from a POI, or from a witness, a helpful eyewitness, to a POI. On your husband's birthday, you fucking witch. What a great idea. Kathy Shank sounds like a 1950s female criminal nickname. Yeah, it does. So here we go. Cross-examination of Kathy Shank by Andy Baldwin. Let's get into it, because Andy has a lot of the same questions that we have. Where's Bree? Rude! I knew that you were in here. I was like, there is probably a Bree in here. Your name's fine. You're not on my shit list. Your name is beautiful, in fact. Bree Wilbur sucks. Bree Wilbur, evil Bree. Just like there's a good Jerry, you're a good Bree. This is the bad Bree. Fuck her. It's not your fault that your name is Bree and so is Bree Wilbur. Andy Baldwin rocked her shit. Here he goes. Ready? We love you, Bree. Andy Baldwin points out that Kathy Shank still has no idea if the information that's actually on these papers is accurate, right? Because it's hearsay. This is what Andrea was pulling her hair out when she was talking about this, because she's like, this is not only hearsay, this is like double, triple, third-hand hearsay. But okay. So Andy points out they have no way, no idea whether or not the information that's on these lead sheets is accurate or not. They're just tips, right? There could be mistakes in them. Obviously, it seemed that Richard Whiteman was a mistake, right? It was not the proper name. Kathy Shank responds, it wasn't me who made this mistake, which was a theme throughout the day, says Andrea. Interesting. Quad hearsay. That's right, DB. On the initial page that said cleared, the entry was under Richard Allen Whiteman, and so Shank said she didn't know who did that. She didn't know any of it. She didn't know anything, y'all. She didn't know who did the tip. She didn't know who marked it as cleared. It was all preceded before her. This all happened before she came onto the stage. She's like, I don't know anything. I'm just a nice old lady helping with tips. I bet you are. The database is finally identified as Orion. We can stop calling it the database and we can now call it Orion. Shank clarified that yes, tips and narratives were separate things that she was entering into Orion. Okay, so now we know tips are one thing, narratives are another thing. The tip comes first and then there's the narrative, apparently. She would receive tips and enter them. The narrative summaries were reports that the officers would make when they went out to follow up on a tip, right? To follow up on somebody. Hi, Dan Jones, good to see you. Why are they scared to say Orion? It's like saying Beetlejuice. They're afraid that they're going to say Orion, the feds will appear. I don't know. So tips and leads are two separate things. Tip comes first, and then they go out and they follow up and they get a narrative and a lead, I guess. Whatever. They're going into the database, they're getting assigned a lead number, and then the reports are coming in, and the reports are just standard paper reports. And Kathy's system was to make sure the narrative summaries were organized in a way that could be easily accessed. Except they weren't, because they were all in her filing cabinet. How could they be accessed if they're not in Orion? They're in your filing cabinet. I think they didn't use Orion past March 1st. Guess what, Judge Jessica? You're actually correct. They didn't start using Orion again until late 2022 for some reason. So I'm told. What do I know? What do I know? God, they're so fucking dirty. So they're standard paper reports for systems to make sure that they're organized in the way they can be easily accessed. And then ideally, they correspond to the narrative summaries with the tip in the database. The tip would be entered, and it would either be left as a tip, or it would be determined to be a lead. If it was a lead, it would be assigned as such in the database, and then it would be followed up on by somebody. Thank you. Do they always do the work 6 times? Why are they doing this? There are so many fucking steps. Just put it in the fucking database, Shank. You don't need a filing cabinet. You don't need one. You know what? If they had just done what the FBI intended when they set them up with this database is set up so that every single officer who's going to be taking and following up on and investigating leads, they get an identifying number, right? They get a login credential. They get to go into the database, log into the database, and they get to enter their own fucking shit. They get to enter their own leads and their own narratives and their own fucking shit. This is the whole fucking shit. That is why that exists. Except, how much do you want to bet that Carroll County and Jerry Holman ISP did not want anybody else to have access to this database? I bet you that like 5 of them were given login credentials. So instead, they're like, all right, give us the fucking, bring all your paper tips, paper leads to us. Everybody bring us all your paper leads. Go out, go fish, and then bring us your paper and we'll handle the rest. Cool. So now we've got a backlog of just paper with no way to fucking organize it. No wonder they needed help in March, because you've got, how many tips were they bragging about by the time March 1st came? 20,000 tips around there? So they're not allowing their investigators, except a select few, I suspect, to actually log into Orion, even though that is the intention. It's a uniform, centralized record-keeping system, so that everybody can put all of their information into one place, and then it can be searched and accessed, and connections can be made, and things can be followed up on, and you're not doing the work 6 fucking times. The problem with that is that if you have a login credential to Orion, oh my God, you can probably see what's in Orion. They're not logging into Orion, it's a portal. What the fuck does that mean, DB? Can you explain? So how are they don't have a login? Kathy Shank doesn't have a login. Explain, please. If you're gonna do it well, actually, can you at least tell us what the fuck you mean? Because they do have a login. Yeah, you think that Kathy Shank's the only one that has a login. You don't think that they gave other officers the means to enter their information into the fucking shit? All right, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't you dare well actually me. I'm gonna roll. DB, did they or did they not have a way to go in and enter their own fucking tips and leads into the database? You're literally doing this right now. Either explain it and educate us, or shut the fuck up. Respectfully, darling. Just wait, guys. I have an emergency in the Delphi case. Shut the fuck up. Okay. Regardless. Oh my God. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna banhammer you. How fucking disruptive was that, everybody? On a scale of 1 to 10, how disruptive was baby girl just now? How disruptive was that?
How disruptive am I now? Is this disruptive? You listen here, you fucking trap mouth of a weasel. You listen to me. Don't you dare question me in chat. Silence. Just kidding, I didn't have to silence you because you're already fucking muted anyways. Hey, listen. All I was saying is they don't have the direct Orion access. The FBI's Orion team has the actual Orion access. They set it up, right? But they set it up and they give people access to a database that's stored on Orion. They can change it and shit. But like, it is a little bit well, actually. So I was doing it well, actually, and I agree. But
So, can I ask a follow-up question?
you're muted.
So, can I?
You're muted. Yeah, go ahead. Ask. I'll listen.
So, oh my God. Ah! Jail. Banhammer. God. So, all right. Motherfucker.
Just kidding. Bye.
Dude.
I'm sorry I did a misdirect.
No, but let me ask you a question before you go, please. If you're
Yeah,
going to
what?
be disruptive, at least be helpful. I'm trying to say that officers who were going out and investigating, they had a means to enter their own tips into the electronic system. Whether or not they could go poking around and log into the actual portal or database, they were able to enter their own tips into it.
Yeah, and they could enter their own tips in the CGIS, and it would have pushed them to Orion as well.
Exactly. And there's a reason they weren't doing that, is what I'm trying to say. They weren't, they were somehow told or instructed, or their protocol was, don't do the thing that the FBI is helping us do. The whole fucking reason that we're even bringing them in to help us manage this, because we're overwhelmed. Don't do that. Don't enter anything electronically. Bring us your paper lead sheets is what I was saying, right? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, it's like, and I'll explain it like this.
Okay.
When you cheat on your partner, right? Are you going to use their phone to do it? No, you're not. You're not going to use their phone because then they can see it, right? You're not going to use a phone that's on their plan because you've already cheated on them before and they're watching you, right? And so what you have to do is you have to write it down on a napkin with a crayon and put it in your coworker's desk.
Right.
And it's with green crayon and it says cleared. And it was accidentally on a tip.
Yep. Got it. Got it. Okay. Chilo says this is over my head. Girl, same. So basically, DB did a well. Actually, he did a distract. He did a disrupt. But what he was basically saying is, and it actually even further bolsters the point I'm trying to make, which is there was absolutely no reason that investigators who were going out and investigating shit, there was absolutely no reason that they couldn't enter their own narratives and their own tips and their own information. In fact, that is what they were supposed to be doing. There was a mechanism in a way for them to enter electronically all of their shit into the system, this whatever you want to call it, whether it was like directly into their Orion, whatever, or via their, what's it called? Don't come back, DB. Their CJS, whatever system, because those would be funneled into Orion. That's literally why the FBI came on in the first place. They came on like the end of February after that press conference. Exactly. There you go, Skinny. Exactly. So there's no excuse for investigators from all of these different agencies who are going out and chasing down leads and collecting leads and helping with this investigation. There's no reason that they weren't entering their own narratives and their own tips. There's no reason that we're using paper. Now, if you're going to go out and do a dandulin or you're in the woods and somebody comes up to you with a tip, you can write it down on a piece of paper. Fine. Then you go back to your command center, or you go back to your precinct, or you go back to your office or your home, wherever you enter your notes at the end of the day, like all officers do. Every law enforcement officer, patrol officer, lieutenant, I don't care what you are. If you are interacting in any way with like an incident with the public or related to investigation, you have to fill out a fucking narrative report. All of them. It's no different than doing that. You don't write your narrative reports for other cases down on paper and file it in a filing cabinet, do you? No. So why are they treating this investigation like it's fucking 1930? There's one reason I can think of, unless somebody has a better reason. Yes, we're going to get to that next, precocent. You read my mind. It's just because they don't want people to be able to access their shit. They just want to be in control. They have this pathological need for secrecy and control and siloed work, whatever. That's my tangent. Anyway, all of that to say, this system that Kathy invented was entirely, it's like basically doing an obstruction, basically. She's basically doing an obstruction of justice. She's helping them circumnavigate the Orion system. But they want to still be able to access shit when they want it. So they're like, we need someone to help us organize our corrupt way of doing our investigation. Yes, they also exploited this case to generate info on unrelated cases. Prime example, December 2021, the Anthony Schatz announcement where Jeremy Piers in his big hat comes in the middle. He's like, here he is on the ISP page. And he's sitting in front of his ISP fitted bed sheet with his cowboy hat. And he's like, we have information about the Delphi case. And then he rattles off information about Anthony Schatz, doxes the poor motherfucker out in Alaska. He's like a cop with kids who has nothing to do with it. He didn't know that his like sexy modeling pictures were being used by a pedophile. So they like throw out the Kagan Klein catfish information. They say it's related to Delphi. They don't tell anybody how. They don't tell anybody why. They're just like, send us all of your internet tips. If you've interacted with a weirdo on the internet, we want to hear about it. Sus. Dishonest, if you ask me. Anyway, let's continue. So they would follow up on the lead until there was nothing more to follow up on. I disagree with this. And then they would produce their report and they'd give it to Shank. Officers are bringing their reports directly to Kathy Shank. Why? Maybe I'm wrong about Alaska, fine. But my point stands. It was a totally disingenuous, manipulative, like, it was just more exploitation of the Abby and Libby case, in my opinion. So anyway, they're having all of the officers bring their tips to Kathy, produce the report, give it to Shank, and the lead would then be cleared. As far as how everything ended up in the file in her cabinet drawer, or how everything ended up in the banker's box file in her drawer. So she's using the word file and box and tip and lead and narrative interchangeably, even though we know they're all different things. She doesn't know how it ended up there, just that it was there, and that's all that she was able to say. There was no other tip. The only tip that they ever had receiving Richard Allen or Richard Allen Whiteman was that self-report. It wasn't even a tip, and I hate when people characterize it as a tip, because a tip means that, like, something related to the investigation. Like, if anything, call it the tip was that he, I don't know. It was literally just an eyewitness statement. If you want to call it a tip, fine. But no one tipped Richard Allen, and he didn't tip himself in. He called and said, hey, I was there and this is what I saw. Is that a tip? I guess. But he's certainly not a POI or a suspect. So this self-report, as they characterize it, him volunteering information to the police, that is the only way that Richard Allen's name ever came into the investigation. Think about that for a second. There's 3,000 motherfuckers in Delphi. 3,000. How many people do you think ended up in one of those Orion tips over the course of 7 years? We're told over 70,000 tips, right? People are tipping in their neighbors, they're tipping in their friend, they're tipping in their substitute teacher because he wore blue jeans that looked like Bridge Guy. Everybody's getting tipped in. This guy looked at me funny at the gas station. This guy cut me off at a pickup truck earlier. I'm gonna tip him in. Like, you're just tipping people in left and right. Everybody ended up in this database, except Rick Allen. At no point did a single person find it necessary or important to provide his name to law enforcement, because he was living a normal life as any innocent person would. And it wasn't like he was a hermit and people didn't know him. He was the fucking pharmacy technician at the only place to fucking get your meds or get a soda in Delphi. Like, literally. People saw him every fucking day. He never was tipped in. Not a single weird interaction. Interesting. Why Rick? Why? Kathy? No one had ever raised a concern about him. Going back to what caught Kathy's attention was the timing that he had identified in his statement, even though he said between 1 and 3-ish. That's a really broad time frame. The fact that he was out on the trail at the time and he reported seeing the girls, and that corresponded with the information that they had from the girls who believed they saw Bridge Guy. Except Rick saw different fucking girls. They weren't the same girls. Rick saw 3, 2 children and a teenager. The girls that they're talking about, what? The girls that they're talking about were teenagers, like 15, 16-year-old girls, 4 of them. But see, here's the thing. When you're dealing with a jury and you're the state and you have the upper hand, or whatever Nick Mcleland called it, when you're on the upper playing podium field, ballroom floor, you get to present whatever narrative you want, and little things like details and specifics don't fucking matter at all. Yes, Nat, they will be filing this, I'm told, I believe. We hope. We'll see it. So there you have it. Details don't matter. Never mind the fact that Rick reported seeing 3 girls, and never mind the fact that the girls that Kathy Shank is referring to is a group of 4 teenagers, not even the same. The jury's like, close enough. He saw girls. Oh, he left. He says he left at 1:30. The crime, you're saying the murders happened after 2:30? Close enough. Close enough. And do you know the main thing that this juror claims was their sticking point, the thing that they hung their convictions hat on? The timeline. The timeline that makes no goddamn sense. Okay, whatever, 3 equals 4, yeah. Because Kathy Shank is like 2 plus 2 equals 4. Except if you're Kathy Shank and you're trying to do a frame job, and then 2 plus 2 equals 3, or 3 actually equals 4, according to Kathy Shank. Let's continue. So she says it was just the time frame. It coincided with seeing girls who'd seen Bridge Guy. How do you know? They all describe someone different. Following up on that, though, Shank didn't remember if the guy, the Bridge Guy, had been reported as tall and muscular ever. And this is going back to the details of exactly what the tip was about, the information about who Bridge Guy was and what he looked like, to emphasize that the person that was tipped in as Bridge Guy in no way resembled Richard Allen. But Kathy Shank was emphatic. It was just because of the time. It wasn't because he met any physical descriptions. Although she didn't know that, but she was very focused on the date and time. The report about Richard Allen and that contact, it didn't include a description of him, but it did have his phone number and his address. This is not making any sense at all. Great question, Grateful. So she goes back later. Let me share this document actually before I forget, because this way everybody can look at it and see if anything, like, what the fuck. This is directly from Kathy Shank's testimony at trial. I'm going to make it so everybody can open it. Y'all go through it at a later date or later. Tell me if there's something I'm missing or misunderstanding. Maybe we can create like a flow chart, a trajectory of the tip. If someone wants to make a graphic, a visual, to help us understand what the fuck she's talking about, tell me if that works. Yes, Aaron, absolutely. Tons of extraneous details to confuse and misdirect. What if the 3 girls were Abby and Libby and Kelsey? Yeah, what if? What if? How many times does something have to not make sense before it doesn't make any sense? I don't know. So it did not include a description, but it had his phone number and his address. Shank was not sure about the FBI, meaning she was asked about like the FBI being off the case. She said she wasn't privy to the inside details as she wasn't part of the investigation. Kathy. With all due respect, Kathy, you are the investigation. You are literally God, as far as I'm concerned. You are the one in control of the database. You're the one that decided that Rick Allen went from a helpful witness to the murderer of Abby and Libby. That was all you, honey. That was all you, babe. You are the investigation. But it's not, you know, it doesn't behoove her right now to be part of the investigation. So she's just like, I don't know anything. I don't know the total number of tips processed through the database, just that me, Kathy Shank, I myself processed 14,000. Kathy did concede that lots of people looked like Bridge Guy in the tips. They got a lot of tips about people looking like Bridge Guy. She did not remember any tips about a guy in his 20s with fluffy brown hair, though, which is interesting. Shank also said that she would probably remember a tip about a man who was walking down the street covered in mud and blood, but she didn't remember ever receiving any such tip. Mr. Baldwin asked if, at the time that she discovered the Richard Allen tip in September 2022, was Mr. Tony Liggett running for sheriff? That got objected to as being outside the scope of direct, and that objection was sustained. Bottom line about the tip was that Richard Allen had volunteered that he had been out on the trail. He had come in himself to provide that information. Kathy Shank acknowledged that, and that was essentially the whole nature of the tip. That was it. She didn't start entering tips until they moved into the city building about a year after the investigation had started, when she began to process tips into the Orion database. So after a year, apparently, she gets access to the Orion database, and that's when she starts entering. So she's collecting paper lead sheets from investigators for an entire fucking year. They weren't entering anything into Orion. Nothing. You've got all of the resources of the FBI when it comes to tracking and collecting and logging and maintaining and following up on investigative information and tips. You have all of this at your fingertips, at your disposal, and you're choosing to use paper and an old woman. And we're supposed to trust that you got the right guy? Okay, got it. There were a lot of tips that had been entered before she started. Thank you. You my girl. Let's get Rick out. Hell yeah, Heather Brown. I love you. Hashtag free Ricky. Free Ricky. 2025 is the year. So a lot of tips had been entered before Kathy started. 2 weeks worth, okay? Chill out, Kathy. She didn't read all of them. Okay. If there was a narrative summary from the part preceding her time on the investigation, she might enter it into the database, but not the tip itself. What? I'm so lost. For whatever reason, it seems like Richard Allen narrative summary was not entered by Shank. It was already in there. Somebody asked about this earlier. So this Richard Allen narrative summary is already in Orion. And it was cleared, and that was outside of Kathy's purview. She's not the one that managed the original tip. She's just the one who found it later in 2022. Jury asks, how did you determine that the name was incorrect? When she had the tip for Richard Allen Whiteman, she went to her file. The file was also under Richard Allen Whiteman, but then the narrative summary inside the file showed Richard Allen, and he lived on Whiteman Drive. So she put 2 and 2 together of how that could have happened. Somebody picked his address and street name and turned it into his last name, and that mistake got perpetuated from the lead sheet to the file name. So you perpetuated it, Kathy. You put Richard Allen Whiteman on your filing label and on your filing folder and put it in your cabinet. Okay, big deal. How does that equate to a missed tip? It's still in there. The only reason Shank pulled the file or the reason it came to her attention at all is because she just happened to come across it in a box in her desk while they were in the process of moving house. Except they moved house in September 2021, and she found this tip in September 2022. But don't worry about that. It's only a year discrepancy. Surely the jury won't care about that. And guess what? They don't. Oh my God, DB, thank you so much, baby girl. Y'all love that. So Kathy was a civilian employee that messed up the surname, which is the exact reason Holman said they moved to paper. Holman's a liar. The FBI left Delphi March 17th, 2023, or 2017, my bad. Like that's when they officially pulled out. And there's articles about it. They talk about downsizing, or no, they say that Google it right now. The Delphi investigation returns to like normalization stage, whatever that means. So they kind of pull out. And guess what? Once the FBI is gone, so is the use of the Orion system until 2022. Mm-hmm. Or until 2020, says Kathy. But so I'll share it again. Here it is, y'all. Have fun, dissect it. Do a peruse. Do a graphic. Yep, Holman is not a liar. Ange Carter will crawl over hot sharps to prove it. Tobe did an interview saying, so much thank you to all the help of other departments. Yep. Shirley, who the fuck is Shirley? Don't call me Shirley. So here we go. Yeah, Doolin perjured in this PCA, and the other veteran too, right? Jesse Snyder. Yes, and Jake Snyder, who I believe he has done a Betty by. But Jake Snyder is a friend of ours. He is Jesse Snyder's brother. And he comes in here often. He is a member of the Crank fam. And his brother Jesse was another victim of Doofy Dan Doolin, the perjurer of Delphi. Doolin with the handwritten tip sheet. Let's talk about Doolin, shall we? Because I got something for Doolin too. I got something for Dan Doolin. Dan Doolin, you motherfucking snake. Where you at, Danny? Isn't it funny? Dan Doolin and Kathy Shank, the two snakes on the stand the same day. I think I'd rather, let's see. Y'all, is this interesting to you? Because I spiraled about this for a few hours today, and I came away feeling like I learned nothing, and I'm more confused than I was. And I figured, who better to help me understand than the Cranks? Covered, cleared, and cycle smeared. Didn't Doolin say something during the trial about Allen giving him the wrong name on purpose? Dan Doolin got on the stand and tried to suggest that Rick Allen was trying to like be dishonest and hide himself or his identity, and Brad Rosie shredded that to bits. And Doolin even admitted, he was like, yeah, no, he literally came, he presented himself essentially on a silver platter for us. Like that didn't happen. So nice try, Dan Doofy Doolin. Anna, hi Anna, good to see you. Probable cause equals finding a file. And say good night to Skinny. Good night, Skinny. Bye, Skinny. Good to see you, Skinny. I hope you have good sleeps. I hope that you have good dreams. I hope that you get really comfy and cozy and that you fall asleep nice and fast. And that you have lots of REM sleep. Brad fucked him up. Sure did. Changed his fishing height to be the exact same height on the Bridge Guy poster. Yeah. How suspicious. If you didn't know anything about this, you'd be like, this guy really does want to be framed as Bridge Guy. He really wants to be framed for the Delphi murders. He's like too honest. Ricky. Dan Doolin was a conservation officer with DNR. He did the original interview with Mr. Allen in February 2017. He was out of the office when the incident happened, which means he was indoors because his office is outdoors. He was out of the office when the incident happened, but on February 16th, he came back and he offered to assist with the investigation. Didn't someone else offer their assistance in the investigation, Deebs? Who else offered their enthusiastic assistance? Wow, that handsome guy was so mean to that pocket protector. You know, I'm gonna have nightmares about being too honest, Fiend. We won't let anything happen to you, Fiend. Got it? You hear me, Fiend? We're not gonna let anything happen to you. So do I have it correct? There's Orion, pre-Kathy, and then there's Shank's boxes and cabinets, and then her own electronic. No. So the electronic database, for some reason, they wouldn't call it Orion, but it's Orion. Like, not until the defense cross-examined Kathy on the stand did she start referring to the database as Orion. So it's always the Orion system. That's the only electronic database that they have. Kathy just, it sounds like nobody was fucking using it. Kathy had her own paper system. And then at some point, a couple years later, into her assistantship, she goes back and she's basically retroactively entering all the tips. And part of me wonders, like, were these motherfuckers getting audited or something? Like, was there some kind of like an audit? And I don't mean like an IRS audit. I mean, like, was some kind of like audit or oversight coming down the pipeline that they were like, shit, we need to start getting ahead of this? Or maybe it was like, we're probably going to solve this soon, because at the time they did believe that Kagan Klein was going to be their avenue, either the killer or their avenue to solving it. So they're like, well, we might as well go back and tie up all our loose ends. Yep, an off-the-record system. They didn't want to talk about anything to do with the FBI, 100%. You'd think that they'd have to sign an NDA contract to be exposed to all that confidential police work. I'm sure that they would say that they did. They'd be like, sure, it's right here, and they would just produce it and backdate it, you know. Yes, she did an assistantship, DB. She was an apprentice. Anyway, Doofy Dan Doolin. So Dan Doolin, much like another idiot who's caused grave harm to the lives of innocent people, offered his enthusiastic assistantship with the investigation. Sua Sponte offered himself up. Hey, let me help. I'm a DNR officer. I'm the guy. I'm Dudley Do-Right. On his first day, Doolin went to the command center and offered his services. He got briefed on the basics of the case, and then he just followed up on whatever leads they wanted him to follow up on. On February 18th is when he started following up on leads. So Rick Allen was literally one of his first leads. Love it. They'd have a morning briefing. And remember, y'all, they would do a prayer. They would do a morning prayer at the task force building where they all fucking, whatever, they would do a morning meet and a morning prayer. And they'd be distributed, the lead sheets would be printed out and distributed to officers at this meeting to follow up on. They were to make contact with whoever was on the lead sheet. I guess they'd get randomly assigned lead sheets from tips. And they'd go out and make contact, preferably in person, to find out where the person was, how to contact them, where they were at the time, and why they thought someone might have called in a tip about them. Like, why do you think that your next door neighbor called in and told us that you were the Bridge Guy? I'm sure that was really effective. The lead sheets were very basic. It had a person's name, a way to contact them, and whatever the report had been about them or why they were pertinent to the case. Doolin described some leads as complex and some as very simple. Wow. They would get a lead, they'd go talk to the person, and that would be the end of it, and then it would be closed. Okay, great. Sounds about right. Doolin got a lead sheet about Rick Allen. He was to follow up on it. He was listed as the source. Richard Allen, white man, listed as the source. February 18th, he got the lead sheet. He contacted Mr. Allen by phone, which was listed there. He left his phone number for them to contact him. Doolin said that his preference was to meet at Allen's house, or his second choice would be to meet at the law enforcement office facility. Mr. Allen wanted to meet at the grocery store parking lot. To which I say, good decision. You're not coming to my fucking house, you weirdo. Dan Doolin, you're a weird guy. No offense, but you're a fucking weird guy. I don't want you at my house with your starched shirt. No, thank you. Also, Rick was on his way to the grocery store. They tried to make this sound super nefarious when Doolin was on the stand. He's like, oh, he didn't want me to come to his house. No, motherfucker. Rosie shredded that on the cross-exam too. He was like, was it that he didn't want you to come to his house, or was he literally on his way to the grocery store? He was on his way to the grocery store. Mr. Allen said that he was on the trail. Oh, it was a short conversation in the parking lot of the Save-A-Lot. Mr. Allen said he was on the trail between about 1 and 3. So at what point did this get changed to 1:30 to 3:30? Doolin. Because what other contact did you have with Mr. Allen other than this one? You had one contact with him, and he said that he was there around 1 o'clock, and you said between 1 and 3, which doesn't mean until 3 o'clock. Just means, were you there between the hours of 1 and 3? Yeah, I left around 1:30, right? Where is 3:30 coming from? It's not like Mr. Allen changed his story after the fact, because you motherfuckers only talked to him one fucking time. And his story can't change, because you can't change a story if you only give one story. I have questions. Doolin wanted to find out if Mr. Allen had seen anything on the trail or noticed anything suspicious. Real good, Doolin. That's some advanced investigative skills right there. Mr. Allen said he saw 3 girls at the Freedom Bridge at the beginning of his hike and nobody else. Hear that? Mr. Allen said he saw 3 girls at the Freedom Bridge at the beginning of his hike around 1 o'clock. Okay. Period. That's his story. Hey, I saw 3 girls, a teenager with 2 young children. Looked like she was maybe babysitting them at the Freedom Bridge. And then I went and I did my half-hour walk, and then I went home and I took a nap. That's it. That's the one story he gave. It's never changed. He never said I was wearing this and this and this and this. I was dressed just like the bridge guy. That never fucking happened. All right? 3 girls, 2 children, and a teenager. 3 girls at the Freedom Bridge around 1 o'clock, right? When he first got there. I don't know. I think that they were actually young. They were younger than Abby and Libby. I believe that has been clarified. He sees children. He did not see the child. So he says he parked at the Farm Bureau building. However, Dan Doolin is not actually sure if Rick said Farm Bureau building, or if it was just a mistake that Doolin made at some point, like maybe in writing his report or taking his notes or something. But it became clear as they talked about where exactly this was, and that Rick meant the old CPS building. So literally, Rick could have said, I parked at the old CPS building, but Dan Doolin fucking wrote it down as the Farm Bureau building, or somebody did. Like, all of these statements that they're attributing to Rick Allen, and that they have been attributing to Rick Allen for 2.5 years, we're learning never fucking happened. Got it? Rick Allen said he wasn't paying attention to anybody else on the trails. He was looking at a stock ticker and he was walking. During his interview, Doolin would take notes on the back of a lead sheet, pen and paper. He did not record this interview. It was just something that he noted. He didn't have an explanation for why he didn't record it. He said this was one of the first leads that he conducted. And he did have a voice recorder with him that day, and he did record several leads, but he said that he's checked everything and he found no recording of this interview with Richard Allen. Isn't that convenient for everybody but innocent Rick Allen? Nobody keeps anything except for apparently Mr. Allen, the bridge guy, who literally kept his clothes, his car, his gun, all of his knives. But nobody else can seem to keep fucking track of anything that they've had over the past 7 years. They certainly can't keep track of their notes where they write down their interview as they're conducting leads. God, these people are just really, really upsetting to me. His jacket? Yeah, his jacket. Not his phone. He probably did a trade. Kathy probably traded his phone in. Got an upgrade. He works hard. Oh, but he got rid of one phone. He's guilty, so they say. But here's the thing. He gave them the MEID, IMEI number right off the rip, and they did a geofence, and they had pings, and they could have just gone back retroactively and gotten a fucking subpoena or search warrant or whatever the fuck and got his location off of the phone. You don't need the physical phone. You know how easy it would be for criminals to get away with their crimes if just throwing the phone in the Wabash Clam Jam River meant that all of the data on the phone was gone too? That's not a thing. It's only a thing when it's convenient to police, when they need to paint a narrative of a guilty person. They're like, oh, we got rid of the physical phone, so we'll never know. Huh? Exactly. If they found anything suspicious, we would know about it. Subpoena Google, you fucknuts. Yeah, you fucknuts. Instead of Googling release dates, what the fuck? Yeah. I just Googled all the, whatever the fuck he was talking about in that interview. All right. Doolin asked for Mr. Allen's phone, information about his cell phone. Allen had his phone with him. And Doolin gathered what he was able to from the phone, including the MEID number. He took his notes and typed them in. So Doolin took his notes from that meeting with Rick, his handwritten notes on the back of the lead sheet, typed those into a Word document summary, and then he ran Mr. Allen's driver's license, printed out his picture, put together a little packet with all that information and the original lead sheet, his document with his narrative summary. So this can't be true because his original lead sheet were his notes. So I think that he must just mean his Word document, or he misspoke here and he didn't mean to say that because his lead sheet apparently has been destroyed. Except right here, he says that he stapled it to the packet. Interesting. Interesting. Doolin staples all that together, submits it. That was his normal practice. He provided the phone information to the forensic investigators, and that was the end of his role in the investigation. He did not follow up on that lead anymore. Until September 2022, he gets a call from an investigator asking, hey, do you recall having a conversation with a Richard Allen? And Doolin's like, no, I don't remember. Let me look in my binder of tips that I followed up on in the DNR office. So he put a name in and it brought up a Word document. Well, hold on a second, Dan Doolin. Did you look in a binder or did you look in your computer? Did you have them in a binder or did you have them in your computer? Doolin knew that they had interacted, but and then he was able to go back and find the packet in the binder. Oh, so now it's a binder again. Okay. That brought it back to him about the details of that conversation. Got it. Hey, good Jared, good to see you. So Doolin met with the investigators. He brought him the documents that he had, although they should have had all of the documents because he handed them into them already in 2017. He stapled them, remember? So what documents is he bringing them? Brought them the documents he had, and then he did some of his own. Look, he did a sua sponte. We're all just doing sua spontes because we just love our job so much. We're so enthusiastic to solve crime. Doolin did a sua sponte using the DNR records that he has available. It almost sounds like a Walla doing a search into somebody she has no business searching, right? Hey, Dan Doolin, you're not with the Unified Command Task Force. Why are you looking up this individual, this citizen, on your own time? You're a DNR officer. You are literally not a task force investigator. Why are you looking up his fishing license information? All right, well, anyway, he did his own investigation with the DNR resources he has available. Specifically, what he used is a point-of-sale system for outdoor fishing license. Yep, that's a good point. Do you think they ever did that? Nah. Doolin searched for Richard Allen, found his fishing license used that Rick and his wife used. The identifying information included height, weight, and date of birth. Doolin was the first person. So this is October 24th. The first day of trial was the 18th of October. This is day 9 or something. Doolin is the first person to make an in-court identification of Richard Allen, but not identifying him as the bridge guy, no. He's asked to identify, is Richard Allen the man that you interviewed in 2017? Why, yes, it is. And could you point him out in the courtroom? He's sitting right there. There he is, the man that I interviewed who tipped himself in 2017. Nothing to do with bridge guy. Nothing to do with the murders, nothing to do with the crime. Is that a man did you have a conversation with a man in 2017? I sure did. Can you point that man out to us in the courtroom? Well, sure I can. He's sitting right there. He's sitting right there, all 140 pounds of him, because we almost killed him because we wanted to. Just wanted to. Just felt like it. Now he's cross-examined by Brad Rosie. Defense daddy himself walks up to the stand, dick first in his tie, and says, hey, Doolin, it was Mr. Allen who reached out to law enforcement, right? And he cooperated with you. And Doolin's like, why, it sure was. But I'm not sure if Mr. Allen called in. But then he noted that on the tip sheet, that is what it says. He called in himself. He didn't email, he didn't text. He picked up the phone and he called and he said, hey, I was there. I have information, maybe. Doolin confirmed that Mr. Allen told him voluntarily that he was on the trail and he left a phone number of where he could be contacted. It was an accurate phone number that he left. Volunteered the information. Allen met him at the grocery store. It was the same day, within an hour or two of Doolin's initial contact with him. Allen showed up on time. Rosie pushed back on the implication that Mr. Allen didn't want to meet him at his home. They wanted to suggest that maybe Mr. Allen was trying to hide something or trying to distance them from his home. Mr. Rosie elicited, actually, it was possible that Mr. Allen had just told them he was on the way to the grocery store, and it wasn't uncommon for people to not want to meet at home. Allen said he's on the way to the grocery store. Oops. Meet me there if you want to meet with me right now. That's the fastest way. Otherwise, I'm just going to be back home. That's not going to be till later on. Doolin confirmed that Allen just told him he was on the way to the grocery store. Uh-oh, why'd you lie, Doolin? Per Doolin, Allen said he was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30. I have questions about this because when did Mr. Allen say that? Because you yourself said that he said 1 to 3. And that's what he reported from the beginning. Between 1 and 3. Not even 1 to 3, just between the hours of 1 and 3. This became a back and forth because he didn't say the exact time he got there and he didn't say how long he was there. Officer Doolin assumed that when he said 1 to 3 and then 1:30 to 3:30, that meant that that was the entire time that he spent on the trail. Doolin said there's nothing unusual about Mr. Allen when he met with him. He wasn't armed. He did not take note of what he was wearing or of his overall appearance. It was about a 5 to 10 minute conversation. Doolin said he didn't know what happened to his notes on the back of the tip sheet. Rosie asks, well, wouldn't this be the best evidence? Wouldn't the notes that you wrote on paper and pen be the most accurate of your conversation with Mr. Allen in the parking lot? Doolin did not specifically recall anything that was in his notes besides what he had put in his summary report fucking Word document. The reason he remembered the interview is that when he was reading through the summary report and got to the part about the stock ticker, he said that triggered his memory about the interview and it reminded him who he was talking to. Doolin had taken a deposition in March, or Doolin had his he was deposed in March Doolin was deposed on March 20th of 2024. And at that time, he said that he had no independent recollection of what Richard Allen said to him originally. So this was an attempted inconsistency. If you remember the part about the stock ticker, that's actually remembering something independently that he told you, and that's not what you told us in March when we deposed you. You said you didn't remember anything. Doolin backpedals a little bit, and he says, well, I just meant I didn't remember the entire conversation. I didn't have any independent recollection of the entire conversation. Cool. Doolin noted that Allen was willing to give him the phone information, his identifier, and all of it. He did not ask what Allen was wearing on February 13th. He didn't ask what he was driving. He noted the comment about the parking at the old Farm Bureau building, but he wasn't sure if it was Mr. Allen that used those words, so he reiterated that. Throughout the process of describing the physical location, he's 100% confident that they meant the building that's north of Freedom Bridge and that they cleared up between themselves what he was talking about. Okay. Rosie elicited that Doolin had many tasks in addition to following up on leads and interviewing people. He was also given cell phone numbers associated with tower pings or tower information, and he followed up on dozens of those leads. Lots of those people had reported being around the trailhead on February 13th, and the witness made sure that we knew that the area at issue where the tower had captured these numbers was bigger than the trailhead and included some people that lived nearby and some people who were not in the vicinity of the Heartland Highway. It wasn't just people who pinged right there at the trailhead. It was a little bit of a larger area. And then Andrea adds her own kind of anecdote here, her own thought. They didn't say anything about Mr. Allen in this context. Nobody brought it up. It was left unsaid, but it's certainly the question that comes up. If we're talking about following up on phone pings, and Doolin got the cell phone numbers and he didn't hear anything about Mr. Allen's number being on that list. We heard there was no other tip about Mr. Allen, no other lead about Mr. Allen. He didn't come to law enforcement's attention before. So it seems like the conclusion we're to draw from this is that Mr. Allen did not ping off of the tower. I don't know why they didn't go further with that. I don't know. Doolin also canvassed the crime scene. He was at the crime scene numerous times throughout the week. They had the dive team walking out there looking for evidence. They were out there in the woods. As a DNR officer, Doolin spends a lot of time in the woods and by creeks. The first day that he was out there, he said, was February 17th, so just 3 days after the incident. While he was out there, some items caught his attention. Doolin saw sticks and branches that were in a pile. About 4 to 5 feet, about a 4 to 5 foot area, and the sticks and branches had blood on them. Knowing that the scene had been processed and released, Doolin relayed to the crime scene investigators that the sticks were out there. He acknowledged the crime scene techs had been back out there several times. Eventually, they did come back and collect them. He spent a lot of time by creeks. He's a creek boy. When Doolin went out there, he immediately noticed the deer stand. He went out there. There was still crime scene tape around the area when he went there, but there was no security at all. When Doolin went out there, though, he immediately noticed deer stands. He's real creaky. Yeah, he noticed deer stands. He was able to recognize that people had been out there hunting. He was asked if he believed that people went out there to hunt. Okay. Doolin conceded it was not uncommon to find rounds on the ground in areas where people were hunting. He also conceded that people in the countryside often have handguns. There is no prohibition in the state against going out and shooting. He acknowledged that fishermen often carried handguns with them too. He acknowledged that Sig Sauer was a standard issued firearm in 2017, and he acknowledged that a Smith & Wesson is a very popular manufacturer of ammunition. Rosie asked Doolin, the first time you interviewed Richard Allen, what was his hair like? He did not recall. He was asked about the package he provided that contained the lead sheet, the DMV info, etc. Was this a new lead sheet that you printed out if the old one had been thrown away? And so he described his process. He would run the lead. Here we go again with the fucking paper. Doolin would run the lead sheet through his copier with his summary and all the other documents, so it would only copy the front page. He would make a copy for himself so that he maintained it in his binder and had record of it, and then he'd submit the original packet to the command center, and then he would just get rid of the original lead sheet. Here's Andrea again. It's not clear to me why he would do that. I don't know, why wouldn't you? It seems to me you would take your original lead sheet and the things that you printed out and your printed summary, and you'd staple them together and you'd give them to the command center. Whether you make a copy for yourself or not, it makes sense why his own copy wouldn't have his notes on the back, but why would you copy the lead sheet separately and give it back to law enforcement? To get back to the command center and then just get rid of the original lead sheet. That seems weird to me. It didn't make sense to me why a person would do that. It's not efficient. You just take your original, build your packet, copy it yourself, and send the original packet over to the command center. There's no reason why you'd need to get rid of that original sheet. Nevertheless, they did. So the notes are gone. Interesting. I'm going to share this with y'all too. Just for funsies. Just for funsies. My head hurts, y'all, after that. My fucking head hurts. I don't understand anything that they said. Do y'all get it? So much papers. There's so many papers. It's just like papers on top of papers, and they're not organized. And then like Kathy came in and had to do like a retroactive organize after so many years. Oh my god. Criminal Network, Jerry said that he took them under the bridge. The van would, yeah, he would have, if the van spooked him and they're under the bridge, the van would have ran them over, similarly to how Teresa Liebert almost ran over the weird creepy guy by her mailbox, right? It's a tiny little private drive, and you're on the drive under the trestle per Holman. That never came out at trial. No. How do they solve anything? They don't. Did I put this in the, should I put the links in the chat for these thingies? Yeah, there you go. I will tweet them too. Were the notes in his binder his computer or from Command Center or all three? Gilletta, you ask a great question. Mailbox method, exactly. Yeah, he got scared and then he created a masterpiece of art as the crime scene. Right. I wonder if Kathy also did the re-disorganize before giving discovery back to the defense. Oh, great point, Bree. Great point, Bree, with the beautiful name. Kathy Shank said, okay, here's all the discovery that we demanded back from them. We throw it all up in the air, and then we pick it all back up, and we give it back to them. A hazmat suit and a jet ski. Gray Space says, you know what? I have some concerns. I have some concerns, too. I didn't even eat my snack. I was too concerned. Right. What would Rick have done if he wasn't scared by a van? Because apparently what makes the most sense is you get scared by a van and then you decide to commit a double homicide? What illegal thing had you done up until that point, Rick? Rick, when you saw this van? You scared some girls? So the next best thing was to murder them? Well, first it was to march them across the creek, undress them, redress them, stage and pose them, and then cover them with rune sticks. And then cover the blood with rune sticks. Remember that, y'all? We learned at trial from the drawing that not only were the girls covered with sticks, but the pile of the one area that had Libby's blood also had like one of the asterisk rune thingies on it with sticks. Was that for concealment too, Cicero? Was that to conceal the blood that you probably wouldn't be able to see anyway with the naked eye? Was that a concealment behavior? You absolute fucking buffoon. You think he just retired? Something's about to happen? I don't know why I think he retired because he was like, I'm done. I did it. I solved it. Don't reiterate that silly narrative. What narrative? The concealment narrative? I'm saying it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no fucking sense. Isn't that odd? Head hurting can also be a symptom of eye strain. I guarantee you my eyes are strained. My eyes stay strained. I have glasses here. I'm not wearing them because the prescription is so old. It's almost pointless. I guess they're also blue light though. They're blue light. So I guess maybe it would help me. Maybe it would help my eye strain. Whatever happened to the guy dressed in all black or the creepy mailbox guy? Well, you see, the jury didn't really care about them because they decided from day one, for some reason, that Rick Allen was Bridge Guy. All black was Rick, according to the jury. Yeah, they all described the same guy. Just like 3 = 4. Got it. Got it. All right, y'all. That's my deep dive. I hope we have a motion to correct error soon. I think we'll see one tomorrow. Rick, why no lawyer you call? Hold that thought, lawyer's daughter. Just hold that thought for about 24 hours, would you? Would you hold on to that thought for 24 hours and we will circle back to it? I thought my dog got out and I spent the last 20 minutes in the street snow searching for the asshole. He was just in the backyard and I didn't see him. Oh my God, Ashley, that's so scary. I would have freaked the fuck out. I'm so glad that you found him. What an asshole. I'm glad you found him. He was wearing the same thing as Bridge Guy, blue Carhartt and jeans, and also all black, and also as Rick, and also sneakers and boots. He's a super ninja. He holds records in swimming, running, and stick stacking. Everything tomorrow will be public for us, right? It will be filed publicly. If anything is filed, it will be filed publicly. And if for some reason it becomes non-public, we will public it. It will be public. How about that? It'll be public. An amicus brief is the front of the court brief. So admissions that have an interest in the outcome. Thank you, Travis. No motion to correct error, just a nationally correct error. There you go. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna do an Irish goodbye. I love you very much. We'll talk tomorrow about oh my God, that's not good. I'm sorry you got hacked. Call 911 if it's you. I'm gonna call 911 if it's private. I hadn't seen my cat all day. Oh my God. Rest well. Do a good sleep. Do a snack. Do what you need to do. Good night. Love you. Bye.